Eastern continent. Great Sage continent. Wang Lin was silently standing on top of an ordinary-looking mountain on this continent. He had his hands behind his back as he looked up at the blue sky and white clouds. The wind blew by, causing the corners of his clothes to flutter, but it wasn't able to make his white hair move at all. His eyes were like stars, giving off a sense of profound depth. He stood there like an evergreen pine. This mountain was not tall and was filled with trees. The wind caused the leaves to rustle, creating a wonderful song. Wang Lin looked calm while standing at the top of the mountain. He didn't feel pride for passing the palace or arrogant that Grand Empyreans would be coming to recruit him. Just like in the cave world, he silently looked at the sky. After an unknown amount of time, when the sun was setting, Wang Lin stood there and the sky suddenly changed. The white clouds covered by the darkness appeared once more, and the sun appeared in the dark sky. The sun appeared out of thin air and emitted a dazzling light that made the earth look like day. Endless heat came from the sun, as if Wang Lin was extremely close to it, and a figure slowly walked out from the sun. A Taoist robe and a head of black hair. This person looked just like a young man who was rather handsome. Grand Empyrean Dao Yi was the first to appear before Wang Lin. When Dao Yi appeared, everything froze. The wind stopped, the trees stopped, everything stopped. Even Wang Lin's clothes seemed to stop. It was as if this world was frozen by an invisible force. The only thing that could move was Grand Empyrean Dao Yi, who stepped out of the sun. He floated in the air 100 feet away from Wang Lin and looked down at him. Just as he looked at Wang Lin, the void around Wang Lin crackled. This sound appeared suddenly and caused Grand Empyrean Dao Yi's eyes to light up. Countless cracks appeared in the void around Wang Lin, making it look like he was frozen and the ice was collapsing. A few moments later, Wang Lin's frozen clothes began to move where there was no wind. He raised his head and looked at Grand Empyrean Dao Yi. This scene caused a flash of golden light to shine in Grand Empyrean Dao Yi's eyes. He didn't expect Wang Lin to recover so quickly from his pressure that could freeze anything in the world. It has to be said that he was here with his true body. It was not a divine sense or avatar, but his original body. Indeed worthy of being the #1 ascendant Empyrean who passed the palace. To be able to recover under my pressure is enough for you to qualify as the strongest under Grand Empyreans. Wang Lin, follow this lord. This lord once promised you back then that if I don't die, you won't die. Grand Empyrean Dao Yi smiled. He seemed to have forgotten how he had given up on recruiting Wang Lin back at the Empyrean trial. Wang Lin silently pondered and clasped his hands at Grand Empyrean Dao Yi. Grand Empyrean Dao Yi frowned slightly but soon loosened his brows. He looked at Wang Lin and began to speak. His voice was not loud and didn't echo, but each word seemed to contain law and made the world tremble. This is a treasure this lord personally refined, Grand Empyrean Dao Yi said. Then he raised his right hand. A ring appeared on his right index finger, and then it flew into the air, forming a halo about 30 feet wide. I used materials from the immemorial God realm to create this ring, and it took me 100,000 years to refine. Its appearance is an imitation of a treasure from the celestial ancestor. Even if it was me, it would take a lot of effort to break. Wang Lin looked at the 30-foot halo and his eyes shined. This ring was extraordinary. Wang Lin couldn't see through it at all. It was as if it didn't belong to this world, and was an illusion. The pressure it gave off made Wang Lin feel the illusion that he was facing a Grand Empyrean. When Grand Empyrean Dao Yi noticed the light in Wang Lin's eyes, he waved his left hand. A piece of green bamboo appeared in his hand. The bamboo's color was bright, and it emitted a fragrance. This piece of bamboo is a heavenly treasure. Once you fuse it with your body, your essences will evolve, and it also contains this Lord's Dao. If you can comprehend it, if you don't become a Grand Empyrean, you will be infinitely close. The moment the green bamboo appeared, Wang Lin's eyes became serious. Just by smelling the fragrance, the essences in his body seemed to become stronger. This item seemed to be more helpful toward essences than anything else. If Wang Lin could fuse with it, it would benefit him greatly. Grand Empyrean Dao Yi had been paying close attention to Wang Lin and smiled. His understanding of Wang Lin was that this person liked foreign treasures and such. These things held a strong attraction toward Wang Lin, so he had come with the intention of luring Wang Lin with treasures. Moreover, these two treasures were nothing to him, and it would be extremely cost-effective to exchange them to recruit Wang Lin. However, he knew that Wang Lin was no ordinary cultivator and that he wasn't the only Grand Empyrean coming to recruit Wang Lin. If he didn't take out some real treasures, he would likely be suppressed by the other Grand Empyreans once they arrived. In addition to these two treasures, there is one more. When Grand Empyrean Dao Yi spoke, even he felt his heartache. This could be said to be a real treasure, and not even he had completely understood it. With a wave of sleeve, a giant vortex appeared before him, and a fist-sized skull slowly flew out. The skull was surrounded by a layer of light, and the moment it appeared, a shocking amount of death aura spread out. This death aura swept the world, and the world that was frozen due to Dao Yi's pressure collapsed. The moment everything regained their movement, they were contaminated by this death aura. This skull didn't look like that of an adult, but that of a baby. This didn't come from the immemorial god realm, but a long time ago, when I left the immortal astral continent, I found it on a ruined continent. When it was taken by me, the continent disappeared. This item contains a trace of power I don't understand, but I have a vague feeling that if I can absorb this power, perhaps I can break the limitation of Grand Empyreans to become an existence like the celestial ancestor. Perhaps I only had the fate of encountering it, but not comprehending it. It has been in my hands for a long time. If you follow me, I'll give it to you. Grand Empyrean Dao Yi revealed a decisive gaze. He was indeed willing to pay a certain price to recruit Wang Lin. Wang Lin looked at the baby's skull. He could not see through the skull, but it brought about an indescribable feeling. It gave him a sense of familiarity. He felt like it had been forgotten by his soul, but he could not remember when he had seen it. Wang Lin struggled, and after a long time he spoke. Many thanks, Grand Empyrean Dao Yi, but let me consider this matter. Grand Empyrean Dao Yi's brow wrinkled as he looked at Wang Lin and slowly nodded. That's fine. With your strength, there must be other Grand Empyreans recruiting you beside me. It is normal to consider it a bit. Just as Grand Empyrean Dao Yi spoke, a roar came from outside the world shrouded by the death aura. The roar was like thunder, and the surrounding death aura began to churn. Ripples echoed in the sky, and a person walked out. This person was tall and bald. He wore a rough shirt and stepped forward. Each step created a thunderous rumble, as if no force in the world could stop him. After he walked 7 steps, the world seemed to collapse and everything retreated. The death aura was pushed back as if it didn't dare to block him at all. The bald man gave off the overbearing aura of a battle celestial as he closed in. After 7 steps, he was standing beside Wang Lin. Unlike Dao Yi floating in the sky, this burly man was standing on the mountaintop like Wang Lin. Greetings, Grand Empyrean Wu Feng. Thank you, Grand Empyrean Wu Feng, for your help at the Empyrean trial. I'll remember it. Wang Lin clasped his hands at the bald man. Grand Empyrean Wu Feng laughed. His voice was like thunder, and the sky trembled. Nothing to it. I already don't like that celestial emperor and was merely speaking my mind. This was another difference between him and Dao Yi. Whenever Dao Yi spoke, he always referred to himself with honor, whereas Wu Feng seemed much more relaxed. You must have guessed the reason I came here. Let us not talk about conditions. I have a good jug of wine here that I normally don't give others. Do you want a drink? Grand Empyrean Wu Feng waved his right hand and a green gourd appeared in his grasp as he smiled at Wang Lin. Wang Lin smiled and reached out of the void. The gourd flew toward him and he drank a big mouthful. Good. Whether or not you end up under me, you can come to the northern glacier at any time. Wu Feng looked at Wang Lin and smiled. At this moment, he raised his head to look at Dao Yi. Dao Yi, if more than one Grand Empyrean wants to recruit an Ascendant Empyrean, according to the agreement, you only have the opportunity to give your condition once. Have you finished? As he spoke, he looked at the 3 treasures. He ignored the ring and green bamboo. His gaze only narrowed a bit on the skull. That's all. If this is all you're taking out, then I'll give my offer. As Wu Feng spoke, he looked at Dao Yi. After Wang Lin heard this, his heart moved. It was rare for multiple Grand Empyreans to recruit one person. Wu Feng to pointing this out to Dao Yi meant that he had his own intent. Is he going to help me? Wang Lin looked at Wu Feng. Finally, the weekend is here, and Leo can finally sleep to his heart's content, not needing to get up early to take the daughter to school. Been burning the midnight oil these past few days, utterly exhausted. Grand Empyrean Dao Yi let out a cold snort. With his cunning, he naturally saw the meaning of Wu Feng's words. However, he was unwilling to give up like this. I came too early. I should have came a bit later. I could have had a better judgment of the situation after the others revealed their terms. The reason Dao Yi had come first was because he was the first to attempt to recruit Wang Lin. He felt that Wang Lin cared about treasures a lot, so he wanted to come early and shock Wang Lin right away. At this moment, his clothes began to flutter and then calmed down. He slowly opened his hand, and a colorful crystal floated in his palm. However, he didn't expect Wu Fang to say such words. Of course, I am not finished. This lord hasn't taken out the last item. Dao Yi revealed a decisive gaze and raised his right hand. He mercilessly formed a fist. Wang Lin, this item was formed by my Dao intent. If you die, this lord will be injured, and if I am injured, you be affected. This will only have an effect on me. With this, anyone who dares to attack you will be my enemy. Grand Empyrean Dao Yi's heart ached. This was his bottom line, and he hoped to not have to take it out. However, Wu Feng's words had forced him to take out his biggest ace. When it appeared, Wu Feng's eyes narrowed. He looked at Dao Yi and then at Wang Lin. Grand Empyreans rarely take out such Dao crystals, and it can ensure your safety, but I recommend you wait for Grand Empyrean Judai. Wu Feng, could it be that you feel it's hopeless to try to recruit him? Are you doing this to build a good relationship with him? Grand Empyrean Dao Yi roared. So what if I am? Grand Empyrean Wu Feng laughed. He was indeed thinking of this. If Wang Lin followed him, he would treat Wang Lin sincerely. If Wang Lin didn't, then his help would create a good relationship between them. It was two birds with one stone, good for both sides. Then I wonder what you will take out. Dao Yi was very depressed, but his status among Grand Empyreans was equal to Wu Feng's, so Wu Feng was set on this. He couldn't say too much. I don't have as many benefits to give as you do, and my luck at the immemorial god realm isn't as good as yours. Wu Feng was calm as he spoke. He looked at Wang Lin in the eye, and his eyes were clear and sincere. But if you follow me, you will not be under me. I'll take you as a disciple for my teacher. Our cultivation levels are different, but our statuses will be the same. What's mine is yours. This is the only thing I can give you. Wu Feng looked at Wang Lin. He attached great importance to such a person. He felt that Wang Lin had a high chance of becoming a Grand Empyrean, and such a person was worth this kind of commitment. Wu Feng's words startled Grand Empyrean Dao Yi, and he remained silent. Such a condition was indeed much better than the treasures he had offered. This Wu Feng is a reckless person. Although this child is excellent, he is not worth this kind of price. My Dao intent is already my limit as a Grand Empyrean. However, it is interesting that he would dare to gamble like this, paying such a price to bet that this child can become a Grand Empyrean. Equal status take his teacher's spot and accept him as a disciple. If he had proposed this to Ming Dao, then even Ming Dao would have been extremely moved. He would likely not have followed the Celestial Emperor and would have become Wu Feng's junior brother. If Wang Lin agrees, he will gain many benefits. Wang Lin took a deep breath. He didn't expect Wu Feng to say this. Wu Feng also had a sincere expression. He obviously wasn't saying this casually and had put thought into this. What I say is not false. I can make an oath with my bloodline, Wu Feng said word for word to Wang Lin. Has this Wu Feng gone crazy? Dao Yi's expression became even more gloomy, and there was a hint of disbelief in his eyes. Wang Lin's expression was a little complicated as he looked at Wu Feng and silently pondered. If he intended to stay in the Celestial clan for a long time, then Wu Feng's promise was his best choice. But, thanks Grand Empyrean Wu Feng, for your care, let me consider it. Wang Lin sighed and clasped his hands at Wu Feng. No problem. Grand Empyrean Judi is the strongest among us. He may give you a better condition. Wu Feng let out a sigh as he looked at Wang Lin and smiled. He is here. Just as Wu Feng spoke, a ripple of light appeared in the sky and two figures walked out. It was Empyrean Exalt High Z and her teacher. Wang Lin. Empyrean Exalt High Z's voice was filled with joy. She stepped forward and arrived next to Wang Lin. You went missing for so long, and the moment you appeared, you went to the Empyrean trial. You actually passed the Tea Palace. Empyrean Exalt. Just lucky. Empyrean Exalt High Z was very close to Wang Lin, so her fragrance drifted over. Wang Lin didn't step back, but remained standing. He still remembered her words when everyone turned against him. Empyrean Exalt High Z looked at Wang Lin and softly said, "Okay, let us not talk about this. Do you remember when I told you about Mount Emperor? Let us go see the autumn leaves together, okay?" Wang Lin hesitated a bit and let out a sigh as he looked at the absolute beauty before him. "I will go." "Not now." Empyrean Exalt High Z bit her lower lip. Wang Lin silently pondered. With his experience and age, how could he not see the meaning of her words? Although this beautiful woman didn't have feelings for him yet, she already had a good impression of him. This good impression perhaps may turn into some kind of feeling. However, Wang Lin could not allow this to continue. He didn't want her to become like those women in the cave world who ended up being unhappy. Wang Lin's silence caused Empyrean Exalt High Z to sigh in her heart as well, but she smiled. She raised her right hand and patted Wang Lin's back. I just wanted to invite you to Mount Emperor and introduce you to a few women." If you don't want to go, forget it. I'll go find someone else." Shh. Wang Lin smiled bitterly. "High Z, don't mess around." In the sky, Grand Empyrean Judy still looked the same, but his expression was serious. However, there was no majesty of a Grand Empyrean emanating from him, so even when he was serious, he still looked ordinary. "Wang Lin, this old man will accept you as a disciple. Do you agree?" Grand Empyrean Judy was someone from the same time as the Celestial Emperor. "If you agree, this old man can promise you that once the immemorial God realm opens, I can help send you inside and help you become a Grand Empyrean." This was a commitment only Grand Empyreans would dare to make, because only Grand Empyreans knew the price. This was what he said to Ascendant Empyrean Mingdao, but under the Celestial Emperor's unknown condition, he hadn't chosen Judy. "With my help, when the immemorial God realm opens, your chance of becoming a Grand Empyrean will increase by 30%. And if you are my disciple, then not even the Celestial Emperor would dare to act against you. No matter what grudge is between the two of you, with me here, I can help you settle it completely." Among the Grand Empyreans, aside from the dead Dong Lin, only Gemini can compare to this old man. However, after her last reincarnation, Gemini had an accident and her soul split back to her earliest stage. She is extremely weak. "This old man is your best choice," Grand Empyrean Ju Di slowly said. Wang Lin looked at Dao Yi, Wu Feng, and Ju Di. All three of them had given different conditions. Dao Yi's treasures, Wu Feng's equality, and Ju Di's promise. If he intended to stay in the Celestial clan for a long time, then Ju Di would be the most secure, and even choosing Wu Feng would mean that he could do as he wished. Only Dao Yi was someone Wang Lin wouldn't casually choice. After all, he knew that his teacher and Dao Yi had fought before, and the seven-colored Celestial Sovereign had obtained the heaven-defying bead during their battle. But Dao Yi was also someone Wang Lin could choose and not feel bad about. His treasures were things Wang Lin wanted, but if the Celestial Emperor were to really act, Wang Lin wasn't certain if this person would help. Judy is the strongest among the Grand Empyreans. I have to be careful at his place, but he is also at the Central Continent, so he would be a great help on my trip to the Imperial City. Wang Lin pondered. He clasped his hands at Judy and was about to speak. However, just at this moment, Judy suddenly raised his head. Following that, Wu Feng and Dao Yi also looked up with serious expressions. Shortly after, 3 rays of light closed in. "Little Wang Lin, it's really you." A burst of cheerful laughter came from the sky. 3 lights closed in. It was Grand Empyrean Gemini and Empyrean Exalt Guya. As the laughter echoed, the little girl named Wa Wa appeared next to Wang Lin. She patted her hands and circled Wang Lin once. "Little Wang Lin, do you still remember me?" "Little Wang Lin, do you remember him?" The little girl named Han Han stood next to the girl named Wa Wa. She held up a cultivator who had covered his face with his hands and threw him to the side. Wang Lin looked at the cultivator who was thrown to the side and moved his hands to reveal a bitter face. "Greed. Fellow cultivator Wang. Long time no see." As Greed spoke, tears seemed to gather in his eyes. "Okay, Baldy, fake mask guy, and you rotten old man, all of you can leave. This little Wang Lin is ours." The girl named Wa Wa had her left hand on her waist and her right hand raised. She put up an act as if she was very old and wise as she pointed. "Yes, he is ours. If any of you dare to be disobedient, then, I am going to hit you." The little girl called Han Han raised her hand as if she was going to hit someone. This sudden change startled Wang Lin. Empyrean Exalt Guya retreated a few steps with a bitter smile. With his cultivation level, he didn't have the qualifications to participate and could only watch the two little ancestors deal with it. Day in, day out, nearing 3,000 words, reading a lot but can't stop, can't force myself to split the story into 2,000 words chapters, because then the flavor is gone. Leo with tears in his eyes, longing for the like button for the video. Facing the two little girls, Dao Yi immediately frowned, and Wu Feng's expression became serious. He understood the meaning of their words. It seemed they had known Wang Lin for a while and had even brought a cultivator Wang Lin was familiar with. Judy smiled bitterly as he looked at the two little girls. He decided to ignore them and spoke to Wang Lin. Wang Lin, tell this old man your choice. Ah, rotten old man, you dare to be disobedient. Rotten old man, I remember you. You can beat us? The two little girls' eyes widened after they heard what Grand Empyrean Judy had said. Gemini, after your reincarnation, your soul split. How is your personality still like this? This person has passed the palace, and now we are all here, so we will all say our conditions one by one for him to decide. Yu Judy frowned, but before he could finish, the two little girls jumped forward. Han Han, let us hit them, the little girl named Wawa said angrily. Their two figures in the sky seemed to overlap, and a shocking aura erupted. The two little girls raised their hands together and formed a circle with their bodies. The golden light came from the circle as if it had become a golden sun. The light from the sun replaced all light in the world and shrouded the four Grand Empyreans. No one could clearly see inside. Burst of rumbles came from the light. Grand Empyrean Dao Yi was the first to be knocked out. His face was filled with anger, but he didn't turn back. Instead, he flew off into the distance. The second to fly out was Grand Empyrean Wu Feng. He had a bitter smile as he retreated from the golden light. He let out a sigh and disappeared without a trace. Clearly two unruly children, to actually use the power of the 9 suns on the immortal astral continent. This is going to be a real fight. Ah! The third to fly out was Grand Empyrean Judy. He frowned as he left the golden light. He waved his sleeve and all the golden light disappeared. Wang Lin, this old man will wait for your reply at Mount Emperor. Grand Empyrean Judy felt rather helpless. His right hand reached at the void and he disappeared with Empyrean Exalt High Z. All of this happened in a flash. All 3 Grand Empyreans had been forced to retreat from Gemini's mad action. The golden light dissipated, and the two little girls floated proudly in the sky. Little Guya, see how strong we are. The 3 of them are afraid of using the power of the 9 suns, but we aren't afraid. I know. They didn't even dare to fight. We scared them away. Guya quickly walked up and began to praise them. Grand Empyrean Gemini is really powerful. Guya admires. Ah! He really didn't have much to say. He finally understood what the two little ancestors had in mind when told him they had a method when he was worried about recruiting Wang Lin. Now he knew that the method was the same as throwing a fit and scaring everyone away. While speaking, Guya looked at Wang Lin with embarrassment and clasped his hands. Guya greets the white-haired ascendant Empyrean. This matter, I am helpless on this matter. Senior is very famous and you have many choices, but Grand Empyrean Gemini is pure and as kind as a child. If Senior is willing to follow, they will definitely be generous with Senior. We will try to satisfy any requirements Senior has to the best of our ability. Guya bowed deeply and didn't get up. Wang Lin silently pondered and looked at the bitter-faced greed. Little Guya, why are you talking so much? Little Wang Lin, now there are no other Grand Empyreans here. We ask you, you will come or not? The little girl called Han Han pouted and glared at Wang Lin. This made this little girl look very cute. As Wang Lin watched, he thought about how Zhou Ru looked when she was a child. Little Wang Lin, I saved you. Do you remember? If you ungrateful, I'm going to hit you. On the side, Wawa's eyes were wide open, and she looked like she was angry. Wang Lin smiled bitterly. Before him, Guya's expression contained embarrassment. He knew that no ascendant Empyrean would be recruited with a tone like this, especially someone like Wang Lin. Which one of those Grand Empyreans hadn't offered a large amount of benefits? This senior Wang Guya was about to speak to ease the situation. At this moment, the little girl named Han Han let out a snort and floated down to Wang Lin. However, she was too small, so she had to look up at Wang Lin. Feeling like something was wrong, she immediately flew up so she was a head taller than him. She looked proud as her innocent eyes blinked and she began to threaten Wang Lin. "Little Wang Lin, if you don't agree, then I'll hit you. I'll get my father to hit you." Guya said that my father is very strong. What celestial ancestor or ancient ancestor? Just write the word death, and they are all dead. Wang Lin was startled. Fake Guya's body trembled and thought, little ancestors, you can tell this to him. He couldn't care less about anything else and quickly sent a message to Wang Lin. These two little children, what Grand Empyrean Gemini is talking about is their mortal father after they reincarnated. They lost part of their memory after reincarnation, and I was afraid they would be sad, so I randomly said some things to them. "Senior, please don't mind them, alas." Hey, Guya, what divine sense message are you sending? Let me listen. Wawa suddenly looked at Guya with interest and wanted to listen. However, Guya was very fast and was on guard all along. Guya, you are being disobedient and not letting me listen. My father is also very powerful. I'll get my father to hit you. Wawa revealed a proud expression and patted Guya's head. Wang Lin revealed a bitter smile as he looked at the two little girls and sighed. He suddenly felt that compared to the other Grand Empyreans, it was these two little girls who gave him an amiable feeling. In particular, Wang Lin's eyes lit up when he looked at Greed. I indeed ignored a problem before. Even with teacher Xuanhua's power, he couldn't take people out from the cave world. He could only protect them while they reincarnated. Even for me, teacher had to pay a certain price to help me leave. But Greed's cultivation level is not high, and he was effortlessly taken out from the cave world by Grand Empyrean Gemini. Wang Lin took a deep breath and his gaze swept by the two little girls before him. In particular, the little girl named Han Han. Her proud expression was very cute. Even after encountering an accident in reincarnation, Grand Empyrean Gemini still has such power. If they didn't have that accident, then they would have been the strongest Grand Empyrean in the Celestial Clan. I wonder how she compares to Grand Empyrean Dong Lin. Most importantly, I neglected the fact that in Grand Empyrean Gemini's Purple Yang sect, there is a place connected to the cave world. Hey, little Wang Lin, you need to talk. If you don't speak, then I am really going to get my father to hit you. Han Han looked at Wang Lin angrily. Wang Lin smiled bitterly again and nodded while Guya was feeling embarrassed. Okay, I am willing to follow Grand Empyrean Gemini. Wang Lin's answer immediately made Han Han clap her hands, and she looked even more proud. That's right, you should have said that earlier. Forget it, I won't let my father hit you. Wawa, who was on the side, was also very happy. Now that there was nothing left, she pulled Han Han to Greed, who was filled with fear. Little wolf, your performance today was not good, but I can give you some small red flowers. Han Han, how many small red flowers should we give him? Give him 5. What do you think, Wawa? Let's do 6. I think 6 is easier to count. You get 3 and I get 3. Guya ignored the two ancestors abusing Greed and the sounds he made. He stared at Wang Lin and couldn't believe Wang Lin had agreed just like that. Even though he had arrived late, he could imagine that the offers Dao Yi, Wu Feng, and Zhu Di had made were all amazing and could tempt any cultivator. Senior, Yu Guya suddenly felt like he was in a dream. Wang Lin looked at the two little girl playing in the distance, patting Greed's head. Then he turned to Guya and said, however, I have a request. I can stay with Grand Empyrean Gemini for long. I am going to take a trip to the central continent. Then I'll go into closed-door cultivation and ignore the outside world. When I leave, you can stop me. And if a Grand Empyrean acts against me while I am at the central continent, you need to help me. Perhaps I will only be under Grand Empyrean Gemini for a few years. I agree. So it's like this. Guya lowered his head to ponder. After a long time, he raised his head and his eyes were filled with determination. Yes, I can represent Grand Empyrean Gemini and promise you this. However, I hope that even if you go into closed-door cultivation, no matter how long you without waiting for him to finish speaking, Wang Lin understood what he meant. Among the 5 celestial Grand Empyreans, I'll not follow another one in my life. In the celestial clan, I'll only follow Grand Empyrean Gemini. Wang Lin personally made a promise. Good. Gu Ye's face was filled with excitement, and he took a deep breath. In his view, this was very good. Even if it was only a follower in name, it was better than not obtaining anyone. After all, someone who was the #1 Ascendant Empyrean and #1 under Grand Empyreans would be difficult to keep at all times. Senior, let us return to the Purple Yang sect. Whenever Senior wants to leave, you can leave at your leisure. Senior can go anywhere in the Purple Yang sect, including the closed-door cultivation spot Grand Empyrean Gemini used before her accident. Guya clasped his hands and was very respectful. Let's go. Wang Lin looked back toward the direction of the Donglin sect. It was as if he was saying goodbye to the lonely old man there. International Children's Day brings tears and wishing for the like button for the video. In a flash, the 4 seasons went by. When the autumn leaves died and snow fell, the holy event that happened 1 year ago not only didn't die down, but spread even more. 1 year ago, a white-haired cultivator appeared in the Celestial clan. In the Empyrean trial, he went from the 5th palace to the Palace and became the #1 Ascendant Empyrean. He completely replaced the fallen Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao and stood at the peak below Grand Empyreans. This person had a head of white hair and was called the White-Haired Ascendant Empyrean. His name was also spread out by others. This person's name was Wang Lin. The name Wang Lin swept like a gust of wind this year. No Empyrean Exalt didn't he know him? No Ascendant Empyrean didn't he know him? Even most of the sect's Golden Exalt ancestors had heard of his name. Aside from the ancestors, even the sect masters and elders all knew. The 49th Ascendant Empyrean had appeared in the Celestial clan. This Ascendant Empyrean had also passed the Palace, making him the strongest Ascendant Empyrean. Rumors of this person spread across the entire Celestial clan. They said that this person had a soul armor and had obtained a high degree of recognition from the foreign soul. Rumor had it that this person's strength was supreme but low-key. After passing more than a dozen palaces, he didn't want to continue. But Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao had provoked and humiliated him verbally. After that, he passed through the Palace and completely suppressed Ming Dao. Rumors said that Empyrean Exalt Hai Zi admired him, but he had coldly refused her. There were even more rumors that this person came from a small sect in the Eastern continent. Most cultivators had never heard of this sect. These rumors continued to spread across the Celestial clan. Such a figure would certainly attract the attention of all the Grand Empyreans. However, this person had turned down Grand Empyrean Dao Yi, Grand Empyrean Wu Feng, and even Grand Empyrean Judy to pick the weak Grand Empyrean Gemini. Once this matter came out, all the people of the Celestial clan that had heard about Wang Lin were confused. This set off another storm of rumors. During this past year, Wang Lin had been inside the Purple Yang sect and hadn't left. Many Ascendant Empyreans had rushed over regardless of distance to meet Wang Lin and debate Dao. Anyone who came and left greatly admired him and felt even more respect. However, some remained in the Purple Yang sect. It seemed like their harvest was great in their Dao debate with Wang Lin. The Purple Yang sect became the center of attention again because of Wang Lin. The rumors of Wang Lin had slowly spread across the countries of the ancient clan through various methods over the year. The appearance of the Ascendant Empyrean was extremely important to the ancient clan. Not to mention the fact that this new Ascendant Empyrean replaced Ming Dao as the strongest under Grand Empyreans. In the 36 countries of the ancient clan, each of the 3 clans controlled 12 countries. When the news of Wang Lin reached Xuan Luo, he opened his eyes. There was admiration and pride in his eyes. He admired that Wang Lin was able to reach such heights in the Celestial clan. What he felt most proud of was that he had found this person in the cave world and accepted him as his disciple. He should be coming back soon. Xuan Luo didn't tell anyone about the matter with Wang Lin, not even the emperor of the ancient Dao clan. When this news entered the palace, the emperor was still selecting his queen. Women were brought from all over in an attempt to fuse with that wisp of soul. However, even now, he still failed, and no one had succeeded. However, he didn't give up and searched on an even larger scale for a woman that could fuse with the soul. When the emperor learned about the news of Wang Lin, he didn't think this was the same Wang Lin that he hated so much. Although he attached importance to it, he didn't think too much about it. but he cared enough to launch all forces to collect information about this person. After all, this person was likely the 6th Grand Empyrean of the Celestial Clan. The difference between the Ancient Clan and the Celestial Clan was the heavenly gap of a Grand Empyrean. If not for the transcendent being that was Grand Empyrean Guodao, who normally didn't get involved with the 3 clans, the Ancient Clan would have already been destroyed. Grand Empyrean Guodao lived on the peak of Mount Ancient year-round. His cultivation was heaven-shattering, and he was undeniably the strongest Grand Empyrean. Even Grand Empyrean Wang Lin of the Celestial Clan was no match for him. In particular, Grand Empyrean Guodao was the only recorded person to kill another Grand Empyrean. His existence could be traced back to the ancient ancestor. When he became a Grand Empyrean, Jiu Di was merely a golden exalt. After the ancient ancestor and celestial ancestor disappeared, a war broke out between the ancient clan and the celestial clan. During the war, the celestial clan had 8 Grand Empyreans, and the ancient clan only had 4. But when the war reached its peak and the celestials had invaded halfway into the ancient clan's territory, Grand Empyrean Guodao came out from closed-door cultivation. He went and faced countless celestials alone, and fought 2 celestial Grand Empyreans. In the end, he killed both, and on his way back he was ambushed by another celestial Grand Empyrean, but he killed that Grand Empyrean as well. After this battle, Grand Empyrean Guodao shook the immortal astral continent. That battle forced the celestials to return, ending the war. Countless years after, because Guodao still hadn't died, he was a deterrent to the celestial clan. Even though they had one more Grand Empyrean, they still didn't dare to invade the ancient clan. There was even a rumor stating that the celestial clan's Grand Empyrean Wang Lin had challenged Guodao and was killed. The news about Wang Lin slowly spread out in the ancient clan that was protected by Grand Empyrean Guodao. This was also the first time the name Wang Lin was remembered by many people. During this year of time, Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao seemed to have been forgotten. His everything was replaced by Wang Lin. Land of the Celestial Clan, the basement of the palace in the Imperial City. Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao was sitting in a pool of black water. The water constantly bubbled and emitted a black mist that shrouded the area. Inside the pool of water, Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao looked like he was in extreme pain. His body was trembling, but he never left the pool and had endured it for a year. Wang Lin, whenever his pain reached a limit, whenever he couldn't bear it, he would roar this name. At this moment, inside the palace, his roar echoed once more. You took everything from me. I must personally take it all back. At this moment, as he continued to roar, the black water boiled even more rapidly. The black mist entered his orifices and slowly changed his body. Return to the celestial origin law. Not even this emperor with the celestial ancestor's bloodline has succeeded. This emperor promised you to give you the bloodline of the celestial ancestor when recruiting you. A cold voice echoed in the room. Ripples echoed beside the pool and the celestial emperor walked out. Since this emperor promised you, then I'll fulfill the promise. This is the key to why the celestial ancestor's bloodline can have a Grand Empyrean. Cultivating here will give you the celestial ancestor's bloodline, and whether you can return to the celestial origin will depend on whether the hatred and grievance in your heart is enough. If you can last long enough, you can return to the origin. Return to the origin, Wang Lin. I am going to kill you. Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao's face was distorted and he roared like crazy. However, his eyes were dim, as if his consciousness was slowly dissipating. Kill him, as Ming Dao roared. The celestial emperor revealed that strange smile once more and then left. This emperor will reproduce the glory of the celestial ancestor this generation. That old fellow Jiu Di is already ancient, so I'll start with him. Once I succeed, who will dare to disobey? As for Dao Yi, that person is extremely cunning. Back then, the title of Grand Empyrean should have gone to his senior brother, but he got his senior brother killed and stole the qualification. This emperor admires such a person. He will be of great use. That Wu Feng doesn't respect the imperial bloodline at all. That kind of person should be killed. I'll take his Grand Empyrean qualification and gave it to Dao Fei. Although Dao Fei is my brother, I have spent a lot of effort on him, and it is time to harvest. Finally, there is Gemini. As long as their soul doesn't fuse back to one, There is nothing to worry about. The Celestial Emperor smiled as he disappeared from the underground chamber. The Purple Yang sect of the Eastern Continent was where Wang Lin, who had shaken the entire Celestial clan, was located. Right now, it was winter, and the snow formed a layer of silver over the Purple Yang sect. Aside from when other Ascendant Empyreans came to debate Tao, he had spent this whole year in one place. It was a restricted area in the Purple Yang sect. This was the Beast Farm realm. He had vaguely seen the Beast Farm realm, but after coming to the Purple Yang sect, it had changed a lot. Wang Lin had spent most of the year sitting at the edge of the Beast Farm realm. He could feel that there was an invisible barrier before him, and on the other side was a place he was familiar with. The hometown he missed there were people he knew, the land he knew, and the planets he knew. He raised his right hand and seemed to place it on the barrier. Wang Lin's eyes were filled with melancholy and reminiscence. The aura of home Wang Lin let out a sigh and closed his eyes. He had been here for a year and he knew he should leave. In the distance, there was a burst of bell-like laughs. The laughter of the little girls filled with joy made Wang Lin's heart very calm. Little Biaozi, Dante bully little wolf's things have all been cheated away by you. Little Biaozi, let us go down the mountain to cheat people. It's too much fun. Please, two little ancestors. Please, Dante, call me little Biaozi. It's really not a good name. Lu Jin Biao had a bitter face as he cried and begged. Quickly approaching 30,900 words, Leo fierce as a tiger. Wishing for sharing, for likes on the video, for channel followers. As the snow fell, two people walked down from the Purple Yang sect one after the other. They were Wang Lin and Liu Jin Biao. Wang Lin had cultivated silently for the year in the aura of his hometown that he missed. During this time, his wood essence had reached completion and was close to forming an essence true body. His thunder essence true body that was fused with the special essences had been completed in the Donglin sect. He would no longer have to comprehend more special essences. There were enough. As for this 5-element essence true body, his wood essence was close to forming an essence true body. Only the remaining metal essence was still only a small completion. Wang Lin understood that if he could get another sword fragment, the metal essence would reach completion. Once his metal essence reached completion, even without forming an essence true body, his 5-element essences could fuse into one. At that point, Wang Lin's cultivation level would increase from mid-stage void turbulent to late-stage void turbulent, and he would become a golden exalt. Finally, there were the ethereal essences. After true and false life and death and karma, Wang Lin comprehended the 4th ethereal essence in the Donglin sect, reincarnation. He had only comprehended a sliver of the reincarnation essence. It was as if he had just opened the door and obtained the seed. He would have to comprehend it time and time again to reach completion. Reaching Golden Exalt is not difficult. The difficult part will be the ethereal essences. The Imperial City is the home of the Celestial Ancestor. Perhaps there I can find the aura of the Celestial Ancestor's sword. Wang Lin faced the wind and snow as he walked forward. Heading to the Imperial City in the Central Continent from the Purple Yang sect in the Eastern Continent was an extremely long trip. For ordinary cultivators, even flying at full speed would take a very long time unless they used transfer arrays. Wang Lin's figure was covered by the wind and snow. He was gradually covered by the snow as he used spatial bending to leave the Eastern Continent with Liu Jinbiao and the Sea Dragon. Behind them, at the Purple Yang sect, stood Guya, and beside him were two little girls. They looked into the distance with unwillingness in their eyes. Will he come back? Wawa's spirits were a bit down. Can we still see him? Han quietly asked while looking into the distance. Guya sighed and said, "It should be possible. I already gave him the jade. If he faces danger in the Central Continent, you both will know immediately. This is our agreement with him. At that time, Grand Empyrean Gemini will need to go help him." "Yes, that's for certain. Since little Wang Lin chose us, then we won't allow anyone to bully him." Wawa looked at Han, and both little girls nodded seriously. The Central Continent, the center of the Celestial clan. It was vast and filled with celestial energy. At the center of the Central Continent was the Imperial City. This city was very large, big enough to be comparable to a continent. It was endless, and was the #1 city in the Celestial clan. Even the royal capitals of the ancient countries couldn't compare to the Imperial City of the Celestial clan. It was also referred to as the Ancestral City in the Celestial clan. In the ancestral city there was only one sect, and that was the sect the imperial teacher came from. It had taken root and merged with the celestial ancestor's bloodline. They suffered together and basked in glory together. The sect was ruled by the celestial emperors. Each generation of celestial emperor would obtain the loyalty of the sect. Once their bloodline awakened and they inherited the title of Grand Empyrean 8 Extreme, they could change the name of the sect. This generation's celestial emperor Lian Daojin had changed the name of this mysterious sect to the Dao sect. This generation's sect master was the current imperial teacher, Shang Dao Ashuan. This Shang Dao Ashuan's cultivation was mysterious, and his divination power was shocking. By himself, he was able to resist the combined power of the 3 imperial teachers of the ancient clan. No one knew the exact location of the Dao sect, and since ancient times only a few people had found out. However, no secret in the world could resist the passage of time. After countless years, people had many speculations. Some would say that the sect was located in a void that overlapped with the ancestral city. Some would say that the sect was in a spatial rift in the ancestral city, and the entrance was in the imperial palace. Some would say that the sect was deep underground below the ancestral city. There were many speculations, and perhaps one of them was true. The ancestral city was divided into east, south, west, and north. At the center was a restricted area. It was the imperial palace, and only those with permission could enter. In the 4 sub-cities, there were many mansions. Each mansion was a faction. They were not sects, but they had more power than most sects. Among them there were 4 kings, crowned as the strongest one in each of the sub-cities. The northern city S. Li Mansion, southern city S. Luo Mansion, western city S. Shan Mansion, and the eastern city S. Meng Mansion. These 4 behemoths suppressed the area. In addition, there was a transcendent power that could compete with the imperial power. That was the mountain between the western and eastern cities. This mountain was named Emperor. Mount Emperor. One mountain, one person, one Grand Empyrean, Judai, made the entire ancestral city, palace, and millions of mountains feel like they could not breathe. Regarding the mysterious Dao sect, many people guessed that the purpose of its existence was to suppress Mount Emperor, which seemingly suppressed the imperial power. This was an internal power structure in the ancestral city that most people didn't know about. Only the Grand Empyreans could see it clearly. After Wang Lin had spent a year in the Purple Yang sect, he wanted to head to the ancestral city. Grand Empyrean Gemini had used the soul fusion spell to find their memories of the ancestral city to give to Wang Lin. The celestial clan's 5 large continents were split into 72 smaller continents. The 4 seasons there were also slightly different. It would take several months for the cold wind and snow that blew past the eastern continent to cover the central continent in snow. This was the ancestral city's first snow. It was very large and seemed to cover the entire city. As the snow gathered over the eastern gate, even the lines of sight became a blur. There were no mortals in this city. This was a rare place in the celestial clan where only cultivators lived. The celestial energy here was so dense, it formed a pressure that made it impossible for mortals to live here. On this day, outside the eastern gate of the ancestral city, where the snow covered the endless plain, a figure gradually appeared. This figure wore a coat and faced the wind as he walked toward the gate. His hood covered his appearance, but from his figure, it didn't look like an old man, and instead was a young man. However, no matter how the blizzard blew on his body, it was unable to get rid of the ancient aura he emitted. When he was several 100,000 kilometers away from the ancestral city, the man stopped. He slowly raised his eyes, and his gaze seemed to be able to penetrate the snow as he looked at the city in the distance. Celestial Emperor, I am coming. Wang Lin looked into the distance and allowed the snow to land on his coat and cover up his footprints. This should be my last battle in the celestial clan. I am going to see if the madman remembers me, then I'll have no regrets. Wang Lin silently lowered his head. The hood not only blocked the snow and wind, it also covered his appearance. He silently walked forward. He didn't have to come to the ancestral city. He knew it was very dangerous for him, but he still came. Some things had to be done in order to live life with no regrets. Some pursued their emotions and walked down their path with determination. For their loved ones, even when facing a cliff, they would rely on their hands to slowly climb over the cliff. Wang Lin cared about his feelings for his lover, family, and friends. These were all things he didn't have much of in his lonely life, and he cherished them. Losing one would represent real loss. The madman had helped him. After the time they spent in the dream Tao, he couldn't leave without seeing the madman. He wanted to see if his old friend was doing well. He had come here with such thoughts in mind. The wind blew on his body and the snow blocked his way. On the dusk of this day, Wang Lin arrived outside the eastern gate. Compared to this proud city, he was small like an ant. Unlike mortal cities, there were no guards at the city gate. This was the ancestral city with 2 grand Empyreans and the mysterious Dao sect. Not even Xuan Luo would dare to casually come here, only someone like Guo Dao would dare. At dusk, the sky was gray, and as the wind and snow blew, Wang Lin stepped through the eastern gate. His foot landed inside the ancestral city. A powerful celestial pressure pounced on him when he entered the city's gate. It was enough to make any mortal's body collapse, but cultivators could just barely withstand it. If one cultivated here, the effect was even better than the famous and big-name sects. However, this celestial pressure had no effect on Wang Lin. He had no need to cultivate this celestial energy by force. Walking on the city streets, Wang Lin looked around. Among the wind and snow, there were many pedestrians quickly walking by. Even if they had cultivation, none of them flew. They just walked around like mortals. Even dragons must coil up in the ancestral city. Even tigers must lie down in the ancestral city. Even the powerful Empyrean exalts must abide to the agreement. Is this the case? There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. This doesn't include me. Tears, streaming long, wishing for the like button for the video. Deep in the eastern city of the ancestral city, there was an ordinary-looking mansion. However, it occupied a large area and looked like a ferocious beast from a distance. It was completely silent outside this mansion. There was not a trace of a person. It was as if this was a forbidden land in the eastern city. If people saw it from afar, they would bypass it and not walk through this place. The wind was blowing, and a thick layer of snow had gathered on the ground. Silver light reflected off the snow, giving the area a cold feeling. The silver light shined on the gate of the mansion, giving off a powerful pressure. Outside the gate stood 2 stone lions. Their eyes were closed, but they gave off a shockingly fierce aura. It was as if they would stare down anyone if they opened their eyes. Above the gate, there was a green frame with red background, and there were 2 large golden words on it. Li Mansion. A shocking arrow aura spread out from these 2 words. This caused the surrounding snowflakes to seem to be filled with killing intent as they fell. There was a long hall inside the mansion. However, as the snow fell, there was no sound and there wasn't a figure to be seen. After the hall, there was a green stone chamber. In the snow, this stone chamber seemed to be covered in silver. However, the moment Wang Lin entered the eastern city, the buzzing of a bow echoed from inside the stone chamber. In this extremely quiet world, the sound of the bow was extremely clear as it spread. There was an old man sitting in the chamber, and there was a wooden shelf before him. This shelf was purple and looked extraordinary. This shelf was very strange and seemed to be missing something. If you placed a bow on this shelf, it would be complete. At this moment, the buzzing sound came from the purple wooden shelf. The fuzzy shadow of a bow appeared and continued to buzz. The old man suddenly opened his eyes, and they seemed to be filled with a shocking arrow aura. He stared at the purple wooden shelf. The Ancestor S bow shelf created a sound. This only happened when the Ancestor S bow is close. Could it be the Ancestor S bow is nearby? The old man took a deep breath and waved at the shelf. A ray of purple light flashed and turned into an arrow. It flew out from the stone room. It wasn't too fast, as if it were looking for something, and then disappeared into the distance. The old man's eyes lit up and he immediately shouted, Li Yun, Li Shan, the 2 of you follow the arrow and see if you can find the aura of the old Ancestor S bow. As his voice echoed, 2 figures appeared like smoke from the quiet pavilion. They disappeared after the purple arrow. At this moment, Wang Lin was facing the wind and snow as he walked through the eastern city. The snow on the ground was very thick. Wang Lin looked at the city. This city was very large, and just the eastern city was endless. Wang Lin had never seen anything like this before. Reveal character. If the eastern city was like this, there was no need to mention the entire ancestral city. This was a rare city in the world. Those that passed by quickly went by. Some noticed Wang Lin, but they only took a glance at him and left. There were many shops around and many mansions that gave off powerful celestial energy. They were extraordinary places. The entire eastern city under the celestial energy gave people a very unfamiliar feeling. Wang Lin silently walked through the eastern city until the moon gradually appeared. He stopped before a large inn and took out some celestial stones to pay for a place to stay. This room was not large and was very simple, but the celestial energy here was even denser than outside. Although it wasn't a cave, the walls, door, and window were covered in restrictions. These restrictions could be activated to make this a good place for closed-door cultivation. At this moment, Liu Jinbiao was beside him and was looking around. The golden exalt sea dragon had shrunk to the size of a finger and laid on Liu Jinbiao's shoulder. It looked very lazy. The sea dragon and Liu Jinbiao's relationship was very good. Wang Lin was not surprised. After all, it was very normal for Liu Jinbiao to do this with his skill. Night quickly came and the snowfall weakened a lot. Liu Jinbiao looked out the window and saw even more pedestrians outside. He looked at the bright lights in the distance and heard the faint sound of music, making him even more excited. "Master, this is a good place, almost the same as a mortal city. You see there, I dare to say there must be beauties there." Liu Jinbiao pointed to a place filled with light. "Master, Shu Liguo's personality is difficult to change. He must be enjoying himself every night. If you want to find him, that is the place to look." I, Liu Jinbiao, I'm a gentleman. This I am reluctant, but I'll go see if Shu Liguo is there. Master, what do you think? Liu Jinbiao suppressed his excitement as he looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin looked at Liu Jinbiao and knew he was unwilling to stay in the room. After pondering a bit, he nodded. After he nodded, Liu Jinbiao immediately became excited and walked out with the sea dragon. After Liu Jinbiao left, Wang Lin sat there by himself. He took out a wine jug and started to drink as he looked at the snow outside. "Lian Daofei, do you still remember the matter in the cave world? The moonlight outside the window became even stronger, and the snow intensified." The wine jug in his hand was empty. With a sigh, Wang Lin put down the wine jug, got up, and went out. He put on a coat and walked toward the eastern city in the not-so-dark night. Music and the sound of voices came in the night of the eastern city, but Wang Lin felt lonely as he silently walked through the streets. The number of people around him gradually decreased until Wang Lin was the only one left in the snow. "Instant create!" Wang Lin stopped and slowly said, "You, what do you want?" When his words echoed, a pressure came from his voice, causing the wind and snow to freeze. It was enough to force someone from hiding. The void behind him distorted, and a fuzzy figure appeared. Before the figure became clear, a purple arrow shot toward Wang Lin. After this person appeared, his hands formed seals and a bow appeared. It looked like two invisible hands were holding the bow, and it shot another arrow. This arrow flew toward Wang Lin, following the purple arrow from before. "Li family?" Wang Lin was wearing a coat with a hood, so the other party couldn't see his appearance. He turned around and pointed with his right hand. With this, the incoming purple arrow collapsed, and even the arrow after that trembled before disappearing. All of this happened in a flash. Wang Lin hadn't even stepped back. He had just turned around and casually pointed. The eyes of the person who shot the arrow widened and filled with disbelief. He didn't expect an arrow he had shot at full power with his golden exalt cultivation to be so casually negated by this person. All his hair stood up, and a sense of fear filled his entire body. He retreated without hesitation and even spat out blood to use blood escape. He turned into a red shadow and disappeared thousands of kilometers away. If Wang Lin wanted to chase him down, this person couldn't escape, but he just stood there and watched the blood shadow leave. "I have just entered the eastern city and have already caught the attention of the Li family. It must be the Li Guangbo in my body that they sensed. They should have only sensed it and don't to know my identity yet. Otherwise, they wouldn't have sent two golden exalts to follow me." Wang Lin had no hatred against the Li family, so he didn't kill anyone. "There won't be a next time," Wang Lin muttered before turning around. However, his words echoed like thunder in the escaping blood shadow's ears. It caused him to cough out blood again, and his expression was filled with fear. What is his cultivation level? What is his cultivation level? This matter must be immediately reported to the old ancestor. This person must be an Empyrean exalt, and not an ordinary one. Not good. Li Shan and I separated. I came to monitor this person, and Li Shan went to capture his companion. The expression of the blood-colored figure changed, and he suddenly felt like the Li family's actions would cause a great disaster. Wang Lin was still wearing his coat with his hood up as he walked on the street. He had no goal and just wanted to walk quietly by himself. As he walked, light and music came from before him. He raised his head and looked at the palace-like place that was covered in light. He was about to leave when he looked up again, and his eyes revealed a strange light as he looked at the bright palace. His gaze seemed to be able to penetrate all existence, and he saw a proud-looking man in red. Wang Lin was familiar with this man's appearance and aura. Behind the man in red, there were clearly several cultivators that were guards. They were all third-step cultivators, and they seemed to look at the man in red with respect. Only at this distance can I feel his presence. Someone left a seal on him. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed, but a happy smile appeared on his face. Shuliguo Wang Lin shook his head and was about to enter the palace. However, he frowned as he turned to look into the distance, and there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. Li Manshon, that's a bit too much. Wang Lin's body flickered and he suddenly disappeared. The red-robed man in the palace ahead threw his wine cup on the ground and shouted at the people before him. What kind of wine is this? Don't try to fool your family's Grandpa Shu. I know your family has 1,000-year-old wine. Quickly bring it here, or else your family's Grandpa Shu will talk about this place. The man in red had a fierce expression, but he didn't know a gaze was looking at him. That gaze might have aroused confusion within him. The like button for the VIDEO is in danger, urgently wishing for the like button for the VIDEO's aid. On the street of the eastern city, the narrow body of a 100-foot-long sea dragon quickly flew through the area. However, it didn't dare to fly too high, because there was a terrifying pressure here. If it flew too high, it would be fatal. The sea dragon was covered in scars as it flew. There was a black arrow stuck its abdomen, and it was released power that was destroying its vitality. The sea dragon was covered in black gas. On its back was an angry Lu Jinbiao. He was in a sorry state. The arrow from before had appeared very suddenly. If not for the sea dragon blocking for him, he would have already died. That arrow destroyed all of the sea dragon's spells and pierced into its abdomen. This arrow is too strong. Who want to kill me? I have only cheated 7 people. Is there a need for this? There was no fear in Lu Jinbiao's anger. He turned around and roared, "Damn it, you dare to provoke this me? My master will never let you go." There was a black figure that seemed to fuse with the night behind the sea dragon. It was impossible to see if the person was a man or woman, young or old. This person was very fast, even faster than the sea dragon. At this moment, the person moved their hands and a bow appeared, then they shot an arrow. When the arrow appeared, all the surrounding celestial energy seemed to condense into it. From the moment when Lu Jinbiao and the sea dragon began to escape, it had been only 10 breaths. The person chasing them had now shot a second arrow. This arrow contained a cold, killing intent, as if it was going to instantly kill the sea dragon and Lu Jinbiao. Seeing the arrow closing in, Lu Jinbiao let out a roar and was going to use his full power to resist. The sea dragon below let out a hiss as ripples of water vapor rippled. The figure chasing them revealed a cold smile. His arrow, once shot, was very difficult for a cultivator of the same cultivation level to resist. This arrow would be able to kill the sea dragon and seriously injure the little cultivator on its back. Once this little cultivator was captured and brought back home, it would be a great merit. However, just at this moment, the sneer on this person's face suddenly disappeared. This person's pupils shrank, and he was filled with fear. The moment the arrow closed in on the sea dragon and Lu Jinbiao, a figure in a coat and hood suddenly appeared. This figure appeared very suddenly, as if it had forced itself into existence. After he appeared, he only raised his head and revealed a dazzling gaze. The golden light from his eyes landed on the arrow before him, and caused it to break. The figure hiding in the dark felt his mind tremble, and his body was forced out of hiding. When he looked at the other person's gaze, he felt like countless swords were flying toward him. He could not fight it at all. His mind rumbled as he coughed out blood and lost consciousness. He fell down on the ground and kicked up a lot of snow into the air. Before he went into a coma, his body was filled with fear. The other person's gaze made him feel fear he had never felt before. It was beyond the family head and ancestor. "Master, you finally came. He was going to kill me. The sea dragon is injured." Lu Jinbiao became excited when he saw Wang Lin. The sea dragon turned and stared at the motionless figure ferociously. Wang Lin raised his right hand and touched the sea dragon. The The sea dragon trembled and all the black gas around it dissipated. The arrow in its abdomen fell out and its wound recovered rapidly. The black arrow that flew out was grabbed by Wang Lin. After looking at it, he crushed it into dust that fused with the wind and snow. Wang Lin calmly said, "The Li Mansion has gone a bit too far." "Li Mansion?" "Master, you know his origin? It's not because my deception was exposed." Lu Jinbiao's anger turned into grievance as he looked at Wang Lin pitifully. Let's go. Follow me to the Li Mansion." Wang Lin looked calm and didn't even glance at the motionless figure. As he walked past him, he didn't even do anything, and the person's body floated into the air, revealing his face. It was a middle-aged man whose eyes were closed. His face was ashen and he was completely passed out. Wang Lin's divine sense gathered at this person's head. After obtaining the information he needed, Wang Lin waved his sleeve. He disappeared along with the sea dragon, Lu Jinbiao, and the unconscious man. When they reappeared, they were outside a silent mansion. "Go knock on the gate and tell their master to come and see me." Wang Lin looked at the two words Li Mansion. Okay. Lu Jinbiao became spirited. He loved doing these things. At this moment he rolled up his sleeves and walked toward the closed gate. The moment he walked through the two stone lions, they remained motionless, as if they were ordinary mortal decorations. They allowed Lu Jinbiao to swagger up to the gate. At this moment, he looked almost exactly the same as a fellow that had been here more than a year ago. Even their expressions were similar. Before the gate, Lu Jinbiao raised his foot and mercilessly gave it a kick. After leaving a snow footprint, he let out a roar. "My master is here. Quickly come out and greet him." These words were very similar to those of the person that came here about a year ago. If the young man in red knew of this, he would be quite shocked. But the difference was that Shu Liguo had kicked once and the gate hadn't moved at all, while Lu Jinbiao's kick caused the gate to rumble. This kick actually opened the gate. This scene startled Lu Jinbiao, and he retreated at his quickest speed. He secretly thought to himself that this kick shouldn't have that much force, and that this gate is too weak. As Wang Lin looked at the opened gate, his expression was neutral. After waiting for a moment, he shook his head and smiled. "Since the master won't come out, I'll enter without being invited." With that, Wang Lin waved his right hand, and the unconscious man beside him was thrown inside. Then Wang Lin calmly walked forward. After he walked past the two stone lions, they suddenly opened their eyes and let out angry roars at Wang Lin. These roars spread across most of the eastern city. This caused all chatter and music to become silent. Under these roars, two giant shadows flew from the two stone lions. They were two lions thousands of feet tall, and they rushed toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin didn't look up and still walked toward the open gate with his coat and hood on. In a flash, the two lions closed in, but when they got within 10 feet of Wang Lin, they howled miserably. They were scattered like fog facing a powerful wind. Crackling sounds echoed and cracks appeared on the two stone lions around the gate before they shattered. Wang Lin continued walking forward, and behind him, Lu Jinbiao gasped, but soon his eyes were filled with excitement. The stronger Wang Lin was, the more he could fake being a tiger, and no one would dare bully him. When the sea dragon saw this, its eyes were filled with awe. Just as Wang Lin's right foot stepped into the gate of the Li Mansion, howling sounds echoed. A large number of figures came out, and they all made the same motions. Their left hands held a bow, and their right hands pulled the bow to a full moon before shooting an arrow. Hundreds of arrows shot toward Wang Lin, who had just entered the gate. Each arrow contained a powerful force. At this moment, hundreds of arrows condensed into a rain of arrows, and due to their positions, they seemed to form a formation. This formation gave off endless red light, and a shocking killing intent erupted as it closed in on Wang Lin. Without stopping, Wang Lin raised his right hand and waved. At this moment, a giant palm print appeared before Wang Lin. This palm was extremely real, and the pattern on it could be seen clearly. The moment it appeared, it collided with the arrow formation. Thunderous rumbles echoed and the arrow formation collapsed, but the palm dimmed as well. Wang Lin stepped into the gate and went through the palm. The palm disappeared. They instantly condensed power equal to a 6th Palace Empyrean Exalt. Wang Lin's coat remained the same as he walked into the mansion. Those hundreds of figures comprised of men and women, but at this moment, they were filled with horror and disbelief. They were very confident in that arrow. Even Empyrean exalts would find it difficult to deal with, but this person before them had destroyed it with a wave. Just as the hundreds of people from the Li Mansion felt fear rise in their hearts, 9 arrows show out from 9 different locations in the Li Mansion. Each arrow exploded into hundreds of arrows, and they were no weaker than the combined attack from the hundreds of people. The power of the 9 arrows that exploded was comparable to 9 of the previous attacks. They fell like a rain of arrows. It was like a giant hand that was mercilessly reaching toward Wang Lin, and if he was caught, he would die immediately. Wang Lin didn't stop but raised his head. His right hand reached out, and he pointed forward. With one point, everything in the world stopped. The rain of arrows stopped before Wang Lin, and even after Wang Lin slowly walked past it, the rain of arrows remained motionless in the sky. This terrified Liu Jinbiao. He was startled for a moment, and then he quickly avoided the rain of arrows as he felt his scalp tingle. He was afraid they would suddenly start moving and injure him. The like button for the VIDEO has dropped to 5th place, tears brimming and wishing for the like button for the VIDEO. 9 arrows scattering into countless arrows to form a hand. This barely reaches the power of an Empyrean exalt, who passed the 7th palace. The 9 of you should have the power of an Empyrean exalt who passed the 4th palace. Worthy of the Li Mansion, your foundation is deep, Wang Lin said slowly as he walked forward. And among the 3 of you are a 10th palace ascendant Empyrean and 2 7th palace Empyrean exalts. With your combined power, you can reach the peak of the TH palace. I didn't kill anyone along the way, but if the 3 of you attack, I will not hold back. Wang Lin's gaze swept past the hundreds of people before him and stopped at 3 different locations. As his words echoed, 3 old men appeared in those locations. The old man right before Wang Lin was the person who was an ascendant Empyrean. This person's hair was half black and half white. He stared at Wang Lin with shock and hesitation in his eyes. He seemed to have some speculation about Wang Lin's cultivation level, but he was uncertain. I don't want to make an enemy out of your Li Mansion. After all, the Liguang relic has helped me a lot. Wang Lin talked about how the Liguang bow had helped him escape many dangers in the cave world. Person who still hasn't show yourself. Why don't you come out? Wang Lin suddenly raised his head. Outsiders couldn't see his appearance, only the monstrous golden light coming from his eyes. This golden light contained a powerful pressure, one even more powerful than the pressure from the ancestral city. Everyone, whether it was the ascendant Empyrean or ordinary family members, felt their hearts tremble. After the pressure reached a limit, it would become suppression. The golden light from Wang Lin's gaze was suppression. He was using the power of the celestial ancestor's sword to suppress everything. Thunderous rumbles echoed. As Wang Lin's golden gaze spread out, the bows in the hands of the Li Mansion people collapsed into countless pieces. Even the bows held by the 9 Empyrean exalts broke into several pieces as if they could not withstand the suppression from Wang Lin's gaze. As for the 3 strongest old men, aside from the ascendant Empyrean, countless cracks appeared on the bows in their hands, and they snapped as well. Only the ascendant Empyrean's bow didn't break, but the bowstring turned to ashes. Wang Lin's roar and suppression gaze made it so no one in the Li Mansion dared to look at him. They all subconsciously scattered, revealing the stone room in the distance. At this moment, the surroundings became silent. There were no cries, but all the cultivators who had their bows broken all gasped. They were filled with endless fear from Wang Lin's gaze. In particular, the Empyrean exalts seemed to vaguely guess Wang Lin's identity, and their expressions changed in horror. White-haired ascendant Empyrean, a bitter ancient voice came from the stone room after a long time. The door to the stone room was pushed over, and a white-haired old man walked out. This old man was wearing a golden robe and gave off pressure without being angry. Although his expression was bitter, he didn't avoid Wang Lin's golden gaze. Wang Lin raised his right hand and took off his hood, revealing his snow-white hair. He calmly looked at the old man. When Wang Lin took off his hood, the surrounding people gasped. All gazes gathered on him. During this year of time, the rumors of Wang Lin had swept across the immortal astral continent. In particular, these rumors were like a storm in the ancestral city, and anyone who should know had heard it many times. The Li Mansion was one of the 4 kings of the ancestral city. Almost the entire family had remembered the name Wang Lin after hearing the rumors. They could have never expected to see the strongest ascendant Empyrean, the number 1 person below Grand Empyreans. What worried them even more was that they had actually tried to kill this person. Give me an explanation, Wang Lin said calmly as he looked at the old man who walked out from the stone room. This old man was also an ascendant Empyrean. Wang Lin estimated that he had passed the TH Palace and was one of the 13 people stuck at the TH Palace. The Li Mansion has 2 Ascendant Empyreans and 11 Empyrean Exalts, and there are 3 mansions like this in the Ancestral City. After observing the Li Mansion, Wang Lin had an understanding of the 4 crowned kings of the Ancestral City. Earlier, the old Ancestor-S bow shelf let out a buzz, which means the bow was near. Back then, the old Ancestor-S bow was passed to Li Guang, and then it disappeared without any news. After noticing the sound from the shelf, this old man sent 2 golden exalts to check. But their behavior was a bit extreme. After all, the old Ancestor-S bow is very important to my Li family, although the old man was trying to stare into Wang Lin's eyes. He faintly felt that the suppression force from Wang Lin's eyes was too powerful. Wang Lin didn't speak and still looked at the old man. There is nothing false under the fame, sure enough. This Wang Lin is indeed worthy of being called #1 under Grand Empirans. I didn't see him pass the palaces myself, so I thought the rumors were exaggerated since I heard he had the soul armor as help, however. I didn't expect that just his eyes would produce such pressure. The ancestor of the Li family silently pondered while being stared at by Wang Lin. My Li Mansion was reckless. First white-haired Ascendant Empyrean must have came to the imperial capital for the title ceremony. How about resting at my Li Mansion? Let my Li Mansion-S people accompany Ascendant Empyrean to the royal palace as escorts. And since Ascendant Empyrean has the old Ancestor-S bow, and the bow has helped you, then you are not an outsider. My Li Mansion has an arrow pavilion, which contains the arrow Tao left by the old ancestor. Ascendant Empyrean can look at it as you will. How about it, to repay for our recklessness? The old man clasped his hands and bowed to Wang Lin. He had brought himself very low, but no one in the Li Mansion felt any humiliation. They even felt that this was how it should be. After all, they were facing the #1 person below Grand Empyreans. This person had been fought over by the Grand Empyreans, although their Li Mansion was one of the 4 kings of the Ancestral City and was stronger than most sects. They still couldn't withstand one blow from Wang Lin. If they injured Wang Lin, a Grand Empyrean would come forward, but if Wang Lin killed them, there was a good chance the Grand Empyreans wouldn't do anything. This was the gap between the strong and the weak on the immortal astral continent. Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao rarely left the palace, but when he did, no one dared to be disrespectful. Even the 4 kings would have to be very respectful to Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. After all, he was expected to the future 6th son. Now Wang Lin had suppressed Ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao. If the Li Mansion knew that the ball was with Wang Lin, they would have pretended to not know and would not have dared to ask for it back. Arrow Pavilion? Wang Lin's expression changed. He expected this from the Li Mansion. He could see that aside from fear in the old man's eyes, there was also longing for his Ancestor-S bow. They couldn't take it, so they treated Wang Lin with respect in hopes that Wang Lin would return the bow. This bow, Wang Lin raised his right hand, light gathered, and the Li Guang bow appeared in Wang Lin's hand. The moment the bow appeared, there was a flash of excitement in the old man's eyes. He had seen this bow in Li Guang's hand, but now it was in the hands of an outsider. The Li family members all silently pondered and looked at the bow. Some of them had seen it, and many others had never seen it. I still have some use for this bow. Once I am done with everything, I'll return it. Wang Lin waved his hand and the bow disappeared back into his body. The old man from the Li family let out a sigh but wasn't disappointed. After all, Wang Lin had made a promise and stated his identity, so there was no need to lie. This meant that Wang Lin had the intention to return it, so he might as well consider it as lending him the bow for now. Most importantly, the bow had been found by Wang Lin, so how could it be returned just because it belonged to them countless years ago? If he placed himself in Wang Lin's shoes, he feared he wouldn't even have made that promise. Wang Lin didn't refuse staying at the Li Mansion. He now knew that Shu Liguo was at the Ancestral City, so he was in no rush in unsealing his memory. He stayed at the Li Mansion to view the arrow Tao. Liu Jinbiao was extremely happy. With Wang Lin as his master, he was received as an esteemed guest and was very happy. In a flash, 3 days passed. On the afternoon of the 3rd day, snow was falling. Suddenly, a large amount of ripples appeared over the Li mansion along with bursts of pressure. This pressure surrounded the Li mansion, causing the people of the Li mansion to walk out and look at the sky. There was a flash of golden light and a person walked out. He wore a green robe and looked somewhat arrogant. He held a scroll in his hand, and he looked down at the people of the Li mansion. "Where is Wang Lin? Why are not quickly coming to accept the edict? Read it!" Wang Lin's cold voice came from the depths of the Li Manison's Arrow Pavilion. The green-robed person in the sky was startled. He was here to read the will of the Celestial Emperor, which was equal to the Celestial Emperor personally coming. But this Wang Lin wouldn't even reveal his face. After hesitating for a moment, the man in the green robe let out a cold snort in his heart, but he didn't dare to show his displeasure. He opened up the edict in his hand and began to read. Wang Lin didn't listen to the specifics, and just heard that the Celestial Emperor had informed him to be at the Celestial Palace in 7 days for the title ceremony. Wang Lin had heard in the Purple Yang sect that every Ascendant Empyrean would be personally titled by the current Celestial Emperor. This was a formality and a symbol. During the ceremony there was a possibility of being challenged, but in the past it was mostly ignored. After all, Ascendant Empyreans were receiving the recognition of the Celestial Ancestor's shadow, and few people were that bored. After the man in the green robe finished reading, he didn't see Wang Lin come out and felt even more dissatisfied. He left the edict behind and then went on his way. "I wonder what Lian Daojin will do at the title ceremony. I should be able to see the madman there," Wang Lin silently pondered. He had spread his divine sense across the eastern city, but didn't find Ling Daofei. Forgot to mention, at the end of the month, wishing for the like button for the video. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. The center of the ancestral city, the Celestial Imperial Palace. In the early morning, when the first ray of light appeared over the horizon and pushed away the darkness, causing the palace to become visible, the various famous cultivators of the city and important officials all arrived. The title ceremony for the white-haired Ascendant Empyrean. This event had set off a storm in the ancestral city 7 days ago. Over the years, everyone who was qualified had heard about the white-haired Ascendant Empyrean. This title had also become very famous and well known over the years. All of the cultivation families came to the very large square, after receiving permission from the Celestial Emperor to come to today's title ceremony. At this moment, the sun fell and a large amount of cultivators gathered. At a glance, there were no less than 10,000 cultivators. They all had extraordinary cultivation levels, and there were even Empyrean exalts among them. There were even some Ascendant Empyreans. Even at the Imperial Palace, these people received the respect of the people near them. In the early morning of this day, the transfer array outside the palace was being used constantly. The transfer array seemed to flicker non-stop as cultivators who came to see the ceremony arrived. These people went through the 9 doors and quickly walked toward the square before the Celestial Dao Temple. More and more cultivators arrived in the square before the Celestial Dao Temple. They were not loosely scattered, but arranged in a certain order. There were 3 locations that were empty for 1,000 feet. The cultivators at those 3 locations were 3 of the 4 kings of the ancestral city. In the square outside the Celestial Dao Temple, aside from the tens of thousands of guests who had come to watch, there were also 2 long rows of soldiers in black armor. These black-armored soldiers belonged to the imperial family and were only loyal to the emperor. Their cultivation levels weren't all that high, and they only numbered 100,000. However, they had all mastered the ability to sacrifice their life force in exchange for a terrifyingly lethal force. Few people knew the specifics, but at this moment, the 2 rows of black-armored soldiers gave off a monstrous killing intent and coldness. These 2 rows seemed to cut open the square and directly extended beyond the 9 doors. Outside the square of the Celestial Dao Temple, there were 9 doors placed 100,000 feet apart from each other. In truth, they were 9 huge door-shaped buildings that were black and gave off a powerful killing intent. At the end of the last door, there was a flash as the Lai family members appeared. They went through the 9 doors and arrived at the square. "The time is up. Seal the 9 doors." Shortly after, a figure in green walked out from the temple. This was an old man who looked ordinary, but his eyes shined brightly. He looked around as he walked out from the temple. As his words echoed, the tens of thousands of people from the ancestral city all came and looked at the 9 doors of the square. Thunderous roars came from the 100,000 black-armored soldiers, and their roars linked together. The world changed colors and the earth trembled. The 9 doors gave off a strange black light, and once the black light reached a certain density, they connected together to form a straight passage. This passage was made by the black light, and the 100,000 black-armored soldiers looked amazing. At this moment, the tens of thousands of cultivators beside the square seemed to have stopped breathing. They looked at the passage formed by the 9 doors and also at the transfer light coming from the first door. There was a flash of light, and then a calm young man in white with white hair walked out. Standing there, Wang Lin had his hands behind his back. The early morning wind caused his robe and white hair to flutter. In the wind, Wang Lin looked very young, but the tail of time was on his body. Even though his face remained young, his heart felt fatigue. As he walked forward, the tail of time slowly appeared. His gaze penetrated through the black passage formed by the 9 doors. He saw the tens of thousands of people in the distance and the towering grand palace behind them. Behind the palace, Wang Lin could vaguely see countless of such palaces. These palaces formed the Celestial Emperor's Imperial Palace. This palace was too big. Wang Lin couldn't see its end, but he could feel that there was an unimaginable restriction there. It wasn't active now, but if it was activated, the power would be heaven-shattering. Is the Celestial Imperial Palace? Wang Lin looked into the distance and saw a stone statue far away, but because it was so far away, it looked fuzzy. The statue seemed to be eternally looking at the sky. White-haired Ascendant Empyrean Wang Lin. A cold voice filled with majesty roared like thunder from the temple ahead and interrupted Wang Lin's thoughts. Wang Lin frowned. The person who spoke was the green-robed old man who had walked out from the temple. He looked through the 9 doors at Wang Lin in the distance. Wang Lin, every Ascendant Empyrean will be titled by His Majesty, but before the title ceremony, there needs to be a test. The test is these 9 doors. Once you walk through the 9 doors and stand before me, the title ceremony will begin. At that time, His Majesty will personally come to title you, and the Imperial Teacher will come divinate your future. All your actions before the Celestial Tao Temple will record it and displayed across all the sects across the continents. The old man's words were calm. When he finished, he closed his eyes and no longer paid any attention. However, all the cultivators, including the 4 kings, looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin stood there. He had heard about the title ceremony from the old man from the Li family. Every Ascendant Empyrean would indeed go through the 9 doors before the title ceremony. However, this was only a symbolic gesture. After all, Ascendant Empyreans were recognized by the celestial ancestor and had to pass the palace. The doors were just a show of imperial power and in fact had no power, so one could simply walk through them. Wang Lin's gaze swept past the 9 doors, and he saw the 2 long rows of black-armored soldiers. The soldiers only revealed their cold gazes that stared at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression didn't change under the gazes of the 100,000 black-armored soldiers. He acted on his own principles. If these 9 doors were normal, then it would be fine, but if there were hidden dangers, then Wang Lin wouldn't be polite. Wang Lin calmly walked toward the first door. He was not fast. When he was about to step into the first door, the 100,000 black-armored soldiers let out another roar. As the roar echoed, monstrous killing intent spread out from their bodies. They gathered to form an indescribable force that bombarded Wang Lin. This killing intent came from the slaughter these 100,000 people had participated in and was also connected to their suits of armor. All this killing intent gathered together made Wang Lin feel like he was not facing the 9 doors, but a slaughter celestial. Wang Lin frowned. What the 9 doors test is not cultivation, but killing intent. Since that's the case, I want to be polite. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he slowly closed them. When he opened his eyes again, his thunder essence true body released the power of the slaughter thunder. This force only existed within 100 feet of Wang Lin, but just this 100-foot space caused the passage formed by the 9 doors to rumble loudly. The passage before Wang Lin was suddenly pushed back 100 feet as if it could only retreat when facing Wang Lin's killing intent. Wang Lin didn't stop and continued to walk forward. However, with every step he took, the 100 feet of killing intent moved with him, and the passage was constantly pushed back. Even the black-armored soldiers inside were shocked and involuntarily retreated. It was as if Wang Lin contained a shocking momentum, and this momentum contained enough killing intent to make one surrender without fighting. 1,000 feet, 10,000 feet, 100,000 feet. Wang Lin calmly walked forward 100,000 feet. There was no black light behind him, only the stone door. Before him, the passage formed by the black light that covered the remaining 8 doors became unstable as Wang Lin pushed it back. Roar! The black-armored soldier inside the black passage that had been pushed back 100,000 feet let out a third roar. The black light expanded and formed a black tiger before the temple. The tiger pounced at Wang Lin. All of you, back down! Wang Lin's eyes lit up and the heavenly bull tattoo on his face flashed. He then threw a punch with his right hand and the soul armor disappeared from his body. When this punch landed, the world rumbled and the tiger's shadow collapsed. The black passage formed by the remaining 8 doors collapsed along with the black light. The 100,000 black-armored soldiers all coughed out blood and were knocked back, but no one died. Wang Lin's pupils shrank an undetectable amount as he carefully looked at the 100,000 soldiers. He calmly walked past through the remaining 8 doors and arrived before the celestial Tao temple. His gaze sharply looked at the retreating old man in green. You also back down for me. Wang Lin coldly looked at the green-robed old man. I forgot to say, the latest 3 chapters are all 4,000-word major chapters. Is Leo that kind? So this is the moon god. Is it the like button for the VIDEO? Do you all also start the VIDEO? Chapter 197. The True Inheritance. The man standing on top of the creature jerked his head and looked toward Wang Lin with a strange expression on his face. He thought, impossible. The moment Wang Lin entered the rift, the bag holding the top-quality spirit stones, the 10 instruments, and the beast trap all started to glow. However, the glow immediately dimmed once he entered the rift, as if a force was interfering with the divine sense connected to the bags. Wang Lin already knew that with the personalities of those 10 people, they wouldn't just hand over their treasures. They must have placed some sort of technique on them to allow them to control their treasures remotely. So when Wang Lin received those items, he had always been on guard against them. He decided to use the rift that could cut off divine sense as a countermeasure. The moment Wang Lin's body entered the rift, the old man's expression changed as he noticed that his divine sense was obstructed. Tassen's sarcastic smile became wider. He let out a growl and waved his right hand, causing a circle of red light to appear. It was small at first, but quickly began to widen. Soon after, his right hand didn't stop moving and form more red circles. He sent them in all directions. The irregular shape surrounding Tassen started to shake violently. The old man didn't have time to worry about Wang Lin and regained his focus to keep the irregular shape intact. As for the man covered in scales who had been standing on top of the creature, he began to ponder. Without a word, he slammed his hand on his forehead and he split into 2. Facepalm so powerful, his body split into 2. One of his bodies charged toward the irregular shape. The moment he touched the irregular shape, he recited a chant and used his hand to form seals that allowed him to pass through the irregular shape. After successfully entering, his eyes lit up and he waved his right hand, causing an illusionary spear to appear in his grasp. The spear looked exactly like the one Tassen had, only this one was a mere illusion. But the pressure released from the spear wasn't in any way inferior to the real spear. He immediately lunged forward and attacked Tassen. Outside the irregular shape, the other him drifted in the air, constantly chanting and forming hand signs. Countless balls of purple lightning appeared around his body. More and more balls of lightning appeared. The lightning crackled between the balls, releasing a destructive aura. Although he was constantly performing techniques, his eyes were locked onto the special scale on the creature's body while carefully observing the surroundings. All of this happened in almost the exact instant Wang Lin's body disappeared into the rift. The moment the old man shifted his attention to maintaining the irregular shape, a rift suddenly appeared near the special scale on the creature. A shadow suddenly came out of the rift. The old man and the man covered in scales immediately noticed the rift and the shadow coming out of it. The old man's face revealed an hateful expression. He tried to do 2 things at once. He used his left side to keep the irregular shape intact and raised a finger in his right hand to point at the figure that appeared from the rift. However, he was momentarily stunned, then revealed a cold smile. From the figure that appeared, he couldn't sense his life-saving treasure at all. As for the man covered in scales, he didn't even look at the figure, but waved his hand, commanding a small part of the balls of purple lightning to charge toward the figure. However, after a few moments he frowned and commanded the balls of lightning to change direction, but the figure, instead of dodging them, charged toward the balls of lightning. The figure moved extremely fast and collided with the balls of lightning, but the figure quickly bursted into small creatures. They were completely destroyed by the balls of lightning. While the lightning was rumbling, 4 large black tornadoes appeared from the rift. The tornadoes hummed, and one of them seemed to be concealing something inside. The scale-covered man's expression became strange. After carefully looking at the tornadoes, he let out a sarcastic smile. Within those tornadoes were only some soul fragments, not Wang Lin. All of this was simply to trick people. He waved his right hand, and more of the balls of purple lightning were sent out. This time, the balls of lightning went around the tornadoes because he had a new target, the rift. As for the old man, he had the same idea. His pointed at the rift with his right hand. As a result, the 4 tornadoes successfully made their way past the scaled man and charged toward the million-foot-long creature. Soon, the tornadoes arrived next to the creature. When the balls of lightning hit the rift slowly became smaller and smaller, until it disappeared. The man covered in scales was stunned. Without a word, he waved both of his hands and all the balls of purple lightning around him suddenly shot toward the 4 tornadoes. He wished he could send the body that he had sent to fight with Ta Sen to charge at the tornadoes as well. But in that moment, Ta Sen, who was surrounded at the center of the irregular shape, stared at the black tornadoes. His eyes lit up as he understood what was happening and let out a laugh. Disregarding the person he was fighting, he chanted a few very complex chants, and his body suddenly turned into a blood mist. After the blood mist appeared, it quickly spread in all directions. The irregular shape that surrounded him suddenly collapsed and released a shockwave outwards. This caused all 10 people that were maintaining the irregular shape to display frightened expressions. 6 people, including Dumu, were hit by the shockwave. Their bodies were soon invaded by the blood mist, which rampaged through their bodies, destroying all their internal organs, before finally exiting from their heads. The moment the blood mist came out, the 6 revealed looks of disbelief as their limp and empty bodies fell straight into the Dead Sea. The man charging toward Wang Lin had to stop and turn around. He didn't have the time to deal with Wang Lin. Both his hands opened, directing the balls of purple lightning that were charging at the black tornadoes to turn and shoot toward the blood mist. Meanwhile, his other body threw the illusionary spear. The spear turned into a black dragon and charged toward the blood mist. As for the 4 people that survived, all were extremely afraid, especially the old man. He never thought that Ta Sen still had a move like this. The blood mist under the pursuit of the balls of purple lightning, and the black dragon quickly came together to form 10 identical copies of the red-haired man. They all appeared in different locations. One of them suddenly charged toward the black tornadoes. The remaining 9 bodies followed the lead of the 2 that held the spear and the half-moon blade. They started to close in on the man covered in scales and the remaining 4 survivors. Almost immediately, the body that chased the black tornadoes caught up. He waved his hand and sent out a red light. The 4 tornadoes quickly fused into one. After the tornadoes fused into one, it collapsed, and countless souls of small creatures burst out in all directions. A few of the souls hit the scales of the million-foot-long creature. The sudden turn of events stunned that clone. He let out a smile and pointed his finger in various directions. With each point, a large amount of the small creature's souls disappeared. But at the same time, the souls that hit the million-foot-long creature started to gather together. They released a demonic feel before quickly exploding. This explosion caused a chain effect. All of the remaining souls exploded, causing a large amount of Ling Qi to release into the surrounding area. The moment the explosions occurred, a rift appeared near the million-foot-long creature's body, and a figure quickly rushed out. It moved like lightning, and, in a flash, it landed on a scale on the giant creature's body. This person was Wang Lin, however. This time, his body didn't look real, more like an illusion. It was clear that the him now was his soul that had left his body. The moment Wang Lin appeared, the clone of the man covered in scales that was fighting with Ta Sen and slowly moving here was suddenly stunned as he stared at Wang Lin. His eyes revealed a look of disbelief. From Wang Lin's soul, he sensed a fragment of the inheritance of knowledge. All of this happened in a very short period of time. Wang Lin had always had a careful personality when he entered the rift, and felt the destructive force coming from the items he got from Du Mu's group. This caused him to be extra careful. In conclusion, how could he reappear without any preparation? Thus, he used the method from the inheritance of knowledge to hide in the rift, and used the riftess effect of blocking out divine sense to block the effects of those treasures. After he carefully examined the treasures, he noticed that the glow dimmed and the destructive force went away. Only then did he relax a bit. So after he opened the rift, he sent out the souls of small beasts as scouts. He found that the attention of not only the old man, but also the attention of the man covered in scales were focused on him. Wang Lin was watching when that man come out from the million-foot-long creature earlier, and he realized that the man covered in scales could fight evenly with Ta Sen. Taking these factors into account, Wang Lin didn't dare come out. He carefully pondered for a while. Then he sent out 4 black tornadoes and hid part of his divine sense inside of them, then quickly retreated back into the rift. As for everything that happened between Ta Sen and them, he saw it all through the black tornadoes, especially Ta Sen's supernatural ability, which made Wang Lin feel that his earlier decision was correct. If he had really followed the old man's instructions and tried to seal Ta Sen, it seemed that before he could even complete the seal, he would have died like those 6. After Ta Sen formed the 10 clones, one of them came toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin fused the 4 tornadoes himself before Ta Sen could act, and the countless souls of small beasts burst out. As a result, his divine sense scattered among the souls of the small beasts, so the chances of him being found out were a lot lower. However, Wang Lin was not arrogant enough to think that he wouldn't be found out. If he was found out, then at most he would just cut off that part of his divine sense. After all, the main purpose of this portion of his divine sense was to act as a scout. He controlled the souls of the small beasts to land on the body of the million-foot creature. One of the souls hit that special scale by accident, and the moment it touched the scale, he clearly felt a strong call from it. Under this call, the portion of inheritance that he held inside his mind felt like it was going to jump out of his body. But at the same time, within his inheritance, a new piece of memory appeared. After understanding the memory, Wang Lin's heart couldn't help but sink. Wang Lin soon decided to make all of the souls of the small beasts explode. He sneered as his soul left his body and exited the rift like lightning. Just as Wang Lin expected, the cultivation gap between him and Ta Sen was far too big. Despite it being a clone, it was clearly not at a level that Wang Lin could hide from. The clone left a feeling of disdain in his heart. He already detected Wang Lin's divine sense in the black tornadoes, or else he wouldn't have used a power that would hurt his body. In fact, when Ta Sen entered the Dead Soul Sea, he felt that something was wrong. Even though he had no connection with the inheritance of knowledge, because he was born from Tusi's evil thought, he was very familiar with Tusi's knowledge sea. This place seemed a bit odd to him, but he couldn't clearly say what was odd about it. This was entirely based off his instincts. Even with the million-foot-long creature appearing and the 10 people betraying him, he didn't mind much. All he really cared about was what was odd about this place. It wasn't until Wang Lin appeared from the rift that it struck him like lightning and made him come to some understanding. This was why he used the supernatural power to break out, and why he didn't immediately destroy Wang Lin's divine sense, because he wanted to see exactly what this soul devourer had figured out. In a flash, Wang Lin's soul landed on the million-foot-long creature's body. His body was very hazy, and he directed a cold smile at Ta Sen's clone. Ta Sen's clone stared at the scales around where Wang Lin stood. He let out a cold smile. He knew that the odd thing about this place was one of those scales. While he didn't know which scale it was, once he fused back into one body, he knew he would be able to figure it out. At this point, in his eyes, Wang Lin had lost all value. He formed a diamond with his hand and looked at Wang Lin and said, "Die." Wang Lin's smile became even colder. Earlier, when his divine sense hit the scale, the memory he gained was that no physical body could enter the place holding the inheritance of knowledge. Only the soul could enter. After receiving this memory, he decided to head out with just his soul. This was his bold idea. If everything turned out as he expected, then he would be the first person to enter the place holding the inheritance of knowledge. If this was true, then obtaining the complete inheritance of knowledge was not impossible. Thinking about this, Wang Lin's heart began to pound. As for Ta Sen's clone's attack, Wang Lin didn't mind it at all. His soul started to spread out like a cloud, and 3 words began to shine. Those 3 words were, Ancient God Tactic. Tasen's clone's face suddenly changed. All the other clones that were fighting noticed something and all turned to Wang Lin's direction. All of their expressions suddenly changed greatly. The clones stared at the 3 golden words. Soon his body moved, and all of the 9 other clones charged toward where Wang Lin stood. Almost immediately, the man covered in scales was shocked. Then an idea came to him, and he quickly fused back into one body. He chased after Tasen's clones and laughed loudly. Tasen, anyone but you can inherit the Master's inheritance of knowledge. Little guy, it all depends on your luck. Those last words were meant for Wang Lin. In that moment, he made a decision that would cost him a price he could barely withstand. Suddenly, the man covered in scales pointed his hand at his brow and said, Using my clone as a sacrifice, I transfer the inheritance of knowledge. His clone quickly shook, and along with the spear, both turned into golden specks of light and disappeared. As the clone that was the closest to Wang Lin charged at him, Wang Lin's soul, which was spreading out quickly, shrunk as if it were being sucked in by a strong force. In the blink of an eye, Wang Lin's soul was sucked in by the special scale and disappeared. Soon after the man covered in scales said those words, the scale exploded and disappeared without a trace. Tasen's clone turned back toward the man covered in scales and roared. His clones fused back into one body. His left hand was holding the half-moon blade, and his right hand was holding the spear. He stared at the man covered in scales with intense rage in his eyes. If that little guy doesn't manage to merge with the inheritance of knowledge within 1,000 years, you might have another chance. The man covered in scales began to laugh loudly. Disregarding what happened with those 2, after Wang Lin's soul was absorbed by the scale, he arrived at a world of clouds. This place had no sky or land, but endless clouds as far as the eyes could see. It's been a long time since wishing for likes on the VIDEO. The little pig wishing for the like button for the VIDEO support. The green-robed old man's eyes were filled with panic. He retreated several steps before everyone, and his face turned green. He became angry from embarrassment and concluded Wang Lin wouldn't dare to attack here. He stopped after 3 steps as he pointed at Wang Lin and began to shout, You. The green-robed old man had just started speaking when Wang Lin arrived before him. Wang Lin raised his right hand, grabbed the old man's clothes, and threw him aside. The old man let out a cry. He felt like he had been hit by an invisible palm as he flew several 100,000 feet away. Wang Lin greets the Celestial Emperor. Wang Lin clasped his hands before the Celestial Tao Temple. This place was still the Imperial Palace, and the other person was the Celestial Emperor. The respect he had to show was still necessary. The gazes of tens of thousands of cultivators all focused on Wang Lin. There were also the 100,000 soldiers. They silently pondered and coldly stared at Wang Lin. Among the 4 kings, aside from the Li Manshun, the other 3 families all looked at Wang Lin differently. In particular, the 3 ancestors looked at Wang Lin with complicated and helpless gazes. After Wang Lin clasped his hands, the surroundings went silent. After a long time, a calm voice came from the Celestial Tao Temple. You pushed aside my official in charge of the title ceremony. How can it continue now? As the words echoed, the door to the Celestial Tao Temple silently opened inward, revealing what was inside. The depths of the temple had mountain-like stairs with a huge dragon throne that looked like a real dragon. The dragoness head was raised up, and its eyes seemed to have spirit as it looked at Wang Lin, who was outside the temple. A middle-aged man wearing a royal robe and a crown was sitting on the dragon throne. He had a hand under his chin and his body was slightly tilted. He gave off an aura of pressure without being angry. Beside the middle-aged man stood a young man wearing rough clothes. The young man had white skin and thin eyes. He was holding 2 purple beads and they were turning in his hand. He had a smile on his face and his gaze was gentle as he looked at Wang Lin. But this gaze caused Wang Lin's blood to freeze. Under this gaze, he felt like he had entered a trance and saw a life-changing image. His heart was in chaos, but he soon recovered. His pupils shrank as he gazed at the rough-clothed young man. The young man's eyes were filled with a hint of shock. He smiled and nodded at Wang Lin. Imperial teacher Xianxia. This name appeared in Wang Lin's mind when he saw the young man. Although he had never met him, but for someone to make him feel like he had sunk into reincarnation with just a gaze, it was likely the imperial teacher. As for the celestial emperor sitting on the dragon throne, he looked the same as when Wang Lin saw him in the Empyrean trial. However, his majesty and pressure were much stronger now, as if he was part of the world. Everything in this world had to kneel under his gaze. Forget it, you are the #1 ascendant Empyrean, and that slave was not respectful to you. I want to make this matter difficult for you. Xuan Dao, you preside over the title ceremony, the celestial emperor sitting on the dragon throne said. Yes. The rough-clothed young man bowed slightly and walked toward the temple. It indeed is him. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. When the rough-clothed young man walked past Wang Lin, he smiled and nodded at Wang Lin. Then, he looked at the tens of thousands of cultivators in the square. I'll preside over the title ceremony. Next is to sacrifice the blood to open the celestial Dao. Imperial teacher Xuan Dao said as he pointed at the sky with his right hand. With this, a ray of red light flew off into the distance. At this moment, earth-shattering roars came from 99 corners of the palace. These roars sounded like the screams of beasts before death. Immediately after, 99 pillars of blood shot into the sky from the palace. Wang Lin could clearly see that the 99 blood pillars contained 99 different beast souls. Blood sacrifice to the celestial. Kill 99 beasts and use their blood to open the ethereal celestial Dao. Wang Lin calmly looked at all of this. The 99 blood pillars shot into the sky and caused the sky to turn blood-colored, then a door opened. The inside of the door was too chaotic to see where it led. The beast souls inside the blood pillars let out silent roars and disappeared into the void. Then the entire imperial palace was dead silent. At this moment, it was indeed the only place that was dead silent. All the old ancestors in the sects across the entire celestial clan were staring at the sky above the imperial palace. In the previous title ceremonies, aside from passing the 9 gates and the challenges from others, there was also the opening of the celestial Dao. This was using a blood sacrifice to lure a foreign spirits here that would then be killed by the celestial emperor. The blood will scatter across the palace, and the souls will be refined into a treasure given to the ascendant Empyrean being titled. Wang Lin knew the details of this ceremony, so he was not surprised as he looked up at the sky. I wonder what kind of foreign beast this white-haired ascendant Empyrean will get. Back then, when the blood sacrifice happened for ascendant Empyrean Ming Dao, it was a sword-shaped spirit. The celestial emperor killed it, and it turned into an extremely powerful sword. This is all a matter of luck. I wonder how this Wang Lin's luck will be. The surrounding cultivators all looked up and began to speculate in their hearts. At this moment, in the blood-colored sky, a lion-like beast flew out from the dark vortex. The lion-like beast had red eyes and its neck as a bloody mess. With a roar from it, a drop of golden blood fell. It seemed to be escaping in the unknown void when it was suddenly sucked away by the vortex and appeared here. Its appearance immediately caused the tens of thousands of cultivators below to cry out, "Heaven Lion Beast." This is the Heaven Lion Beast the celestial ancestor sealed. It is rumored that the Heaven Lion continent was created from a Heaven Lion emperor. This beast doesn't have golden hair, so it's not an emperor, but it should still be an adult battle lion. As cries echoed, the imperial teacher, Xuan Dao, was calm. It was as if he knew this Heaven Lion would be lured out. The seal left by the ancestor makes it impossible for foreign beings that are too powerful to enter. If this lion wasn't injured, it wouldn't appear here. This Wang Lin's luck is good. A thunderous roar suddenly came from the sky. This roar shook one's heart and was enough to make mortals collapse. Even the weaker cultivators would tremble as if they had encountered their natural enemy. It was a lioness roar. The lion beast with the neck injury suddenly rushed out from the vortex. It was filled with confusion about this strange place. However, the confusion instantly dissipated and was replaced by panic. It was going to escape back through the vortex. But just at this moment, the celestial emperor's cold voice came from beside Wang Lin's ear. A Heaven Lion Beast at the same time, the celestial emperor still maintained the position of holding his chin with one hand, while his other hand waved. This wave caused a 5-colored flame to appear. It released a powerful heat wave as it shot toward the Heavenly Lion Beast. In the blink of an eye, the 5-colored flame turned into a 5-colored sea of fire and surrounded the wounded Heaven Lion Beast. A miserable roar echoed, followed by a large amount of blood that was like boiling oil scattering across the sky and falling into the palace. This was seen by all the surrounding cultivators, and their hearts trembled. It was unknown who kneeled first, But soon, all the cultivators outside the celestial Tao temple knelt on the ground. My Emperor's celestial might. The voice of tens of thousands of people linked together like thunder and echoed through the palace. The power of the celestial emperor was displayed before the celestial clan. Wang Lin silently pondered. He also could have killed the injured heaven lion beast, but not as casually as the celestial emperor. He would have to use the soul armor, and even borrow some power from the avatar. Grand Empyrean Wang Lin's expression was calm, revealing none of his thoughts. At this moment the sea of fire dissipated and a strand of white hair fell from the sky. The appearance of the white hair caused the imperial teacher's eyes to narrow. Not only him, but even the celestial emperor sitting on the dragon throne suddenly looked up. He looked at the falling strand of white hair and there was a hint of surprise in his eyes. A white hair, not even my extreme fire Tao can burn this thing. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a strange light. This white hair gave him a familiar feeling, but this feeling went by in a flash, like an illusion. Wang Lin charged into the sky without hesitation. The celestial emperor at the temple also raised his hand at the void. A giant hand made of 5-colored fire appeared and reached for the white hair. Wang Lin couldn't compete with the celestial emperor. The celestial emperor's 5-colored fire palm appeared before the hair and grabbed it. However, just at this moment, the 5-colored fire palm trembled and the hair penetrated it as it continued to fall. Everyone saw this. Wang Lin didn't hesitate to appear beside the hair, and he grabbed it. Many thanks for the celestial emperor for bestowing this treasure. Wang Lin turned and bowed at the celestial Tao temple. The year of the dragon is approaching. Leo's year is coming fast. Fervently shouting for the like button for the video, wishing to be drowned in happiness by the likes for the video. The strand of hair fell into Wang Lin's hair, and the familiar feeling became even more clear. Wang Lin didn't know why, but this strand of hair felt like part of his body. This hair didn't bring him any kind of harm but looked like an ordinary strand of hair. The two ends drooped toward the ground, and it looked like a gust of wind would send it flying again. After a few breaths of silence, the celestial emperor's voice came from the celestial Tao temple. This is not something I was going to award you, but if you want it, you can have it. Wang Lin's thanks played a key role. After all, this was his title ceremony, and it was being witnessed by all the sects in the celestial clan. In addition, the heaven lion beast had been summoned in his title ceremony, so even if Wang Lin took the white hair, no one could say anything. The imperial teacher Xianxia looked at Wang Lin profoundly and spoke. The blood sacrifice is over. Now it's time for the last step of the title ceremony. Wang Lin, everyone here has the right to challenge you, but only 3 times. After 3 challenges, the celestial emperor will grant you the title. As the imperial teacher's words echoed, the 3 ancestors of the 4 mansions all looked up. They were all old men, and they were all ascendant Empyreans. One person wearing a red robe flew into the sky in a flash. He clasped his hands 1,000 feet away from Wang Lin. This old man will be the first challenger. I hope white-haired ascendant Empyrean can give me pointers. The old man's eyes revealed a gloomy gaze as he looked at Wang Lin. He didn't wait for Wang Lin to answer before he sat down in the sky. He raised his right hand and his whole body bulged. Strands of black gas came out from his body and condensed into a large black shadow before him. This black shadow seemed to be wearing black armor. Its face was a blur and its eyes were closed. However, its appearance caused the world to change colors and the clouds to scatter. Wang Lin, please teach me. The old man bit the tip of his tongue and spat out blood. The blood spread out like fog and entered the blood shadow. The shadow seemed to be stimulated by the blood, and its eyes were red. Muffled rumbles echoed as the black shadow raised the long black lance in its right hand and rushed at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He didn't know who this person was, but from his position, he could tell that he was one of the 4 kings. The black shadow was filled with powerful strength, and it was closing in as if it was going to split the sky. Wang Lin didn't retreat. The heavenly bull tattoo on his face covered his body as he threw a punch. This punch landed on the black shadow's lance. The collision caused a thunderous rumble. During the rumble, Wang Lin slowly withdrew his hand, but the black shadow suddenly collapsed. The old man sitting there turned pale, but he clenched his teeth and hit his forehead. With this, he sacrificed his life force, and even more intense, black gas came out of his body. As the black gas spread out, His face aged rapidly, as if he had just climbed out from his grave. The powerful black gas gathered, and not only did it cause the black shadow to recover, it also condensed into a warhorse. The horse hissed as it carried the black shadow and charged at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression toward the black shadow became more serious as it charged at him. He put his hand on his head and bent slightly backward before he swung back as if he was doing a headbutt. Heavenly Bull Charge. This caused the giant Heavenly Bull shadow to appear behind Wang Lin. The bull let out a roar and its two large horns collided with the black shadow. Rumble, 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 rumble. The black shadow and the warhorse under it collapsed as if it could not withstand the force, instantly disintegrating. The Heavenly Bull penetrated the collapsing black shadow and flew directly toward Imperial Teacher Xianxia. All of this looked like a coincidence. As the Heavenly Bull rushed over, the Imperial Teacher remained calm. His right hand moved as if he was divinating. Then he pointed forward. This point touched the Heavenly Bull, and the Heavenly Bull trembled violently. The Imperial Teacher slowly opened his mouth, and then the Heavenly Bull disappeared. Null is a kind of grand Tao. Because there is existence, it will become null once it is lost. Because there is existence, it will become none once it is lost. What had happened was exactly the same as his words. Wang Lin's pupils shrank violently. At that moment, he felt an extremely terrifying fluctuation from the Imperial Teacher. This was an extremely high degree of enlightenment toward Tao. The Heavenly Bull dissipated, and the black shadow the old man had sacrificed his life force to create also dissipated. He looked like he had aged a lot, and had a bitter smile as he clasped his hands at Wang Lin. He didn't speak, but flew back to his family. The second, the Imperial Teacher smiled while standing before the Celestial Tao Temple. However, just after he spoke, he frowned. Not only him, Wang Lin also looked into the distance. The cultivators below all noticed their gazes and looked over too. They all frowned. Oomph, you all have guts. This lively of an event is going on, and you didn't invite this king. Do I still existed in your eyes? Little red, little green, little white, little blue, open the path for this king. The transfer array outside the 9 doors flashed, and a crowd of people walked out. The person leading these people was a young man wearing a flower shirt and holding a fan in his hand. His face was filled with anger, and he was waving fan, causing his hair to rapidly flutter. Beside him, Shu Liguo's face was deathly pale, as if just being here made his face pale. The young man in green was also pale, and he grabbed the young man in the flower shirt. He spoke in almost a begging tone. My king, this is the Imperial Palace. What does the Imperial Palace count as? I am the king. The young man in the flower shirt was very dissatisfied with the young man in green and threw him forward. Little Red, bring out the majesty you showed when you went to the Li mansion. Otherwise, this king will punish you. The young man in the flower shirt walked forward and kicked Shu Liguo in the butt. Shu Liguo trembled as he was stared at by tens of thousands of cultivators. He clenched his teeth and walked forward as if he was going to give it his all. However, he soon coughed out a mouthful of blood and held his butt as he fell. He twitched a few times and then remained motionless. Ah? Is he dead? The young man in the flower shirt looked down at his feet and was puzzled. Wang Lin was standing in the air, looking at the young man in the flower shirt. His appearance had changed, but he immediately recognized him as the madman. The young man in the flower shirt fanned with all his strength as he circled Shu Liguo's motionless body and kicked him a few more times. Pretending to be dead. You dare to pretend to be dead before this king? Let me tell you, this king has encountered a guy pretending to be dead before. Who was he? He pondered for a long time but couldn't think of anything. He forgot about Shu Liguo and walked forward in big steps with an arrogant expression. All the cultivators who saw him frowned bitterly and avoided him. Greetings, my king! These voices echoed as he walked. The young man in the flower shirt was very proud and was still muttering. The young man in the flower shirt stopped before the old man who had attacked Wang Lin. His eyes widened and he immediately began to roar. Why are there so many people here? Could it be that my brother is picking a concubine? Hey, old man Luo, why do you look so much older? You look like you were beaten up. Who would dare to bully my family's little flower's grandfather? I'm going to teach him a lesson. Old man Luo, tell me who beat you up. The young man in the flower shirt rolled up his sleeve and continued to roar. Was it him? It must have been him. I already don't like him. He is clearly old but pretends to young. It must be you. I'm going to strangle you. The young man in the flower shirt pointed at the frowning imperial teacher and rushed over as if he was going to strangle him. Seeing that he was about to rush over, the youth following this young man grabbed the young man's leg. King, he is the imperial teacher, master. Let us go back. The youth's face was pale, and no matter how much the young man in the flower shirt shook his leg, he didn't let go. He bullied little flower's grandfather. How can I let him go? Little servant, you're not going to let go. Okay, I take you with me. Young man in the flower shirt vigorously dragged the youth while revealing a ferocious expression. It looked like he was going to strangle the imperial teacher no matter what. As Wang Lin looked at the madman below, he revealed a complicated expression. He had come to the ancestral city to see if this old friend still recognized him. He watched him continue to fan while dragging the youth toward the imperial teacher. Shu Liguo, who had fallen on the ground, opened his eyes. He looked at the young man in the flower shirt in the distance, but then closed his eyes without hesitation. Dao Fei? Just as the young man in the flower shirt was dragging the youth toward the imperial teacher and raised his hand to strangle the imperial teacher, the celestial emperor's helpless voice echoed from the celestial Dao temple. What are you doing? You re-choosing a concubine and you didn't tell me you re too much. The young man in the flower shirt viciously looked at the celestial emperor sitting on the dragon throne. Dao Fei, don't make a fuss. Today is your benefactor's title ceremony. Why don't you go greet him? The celestial emperor's words contained a gentle force that pushed the madman a few hundred feet from the imperial teacher. Benefactor? The young man in the flower shirt was startled. 6,000 words in a major chapter. Wishing for sharing for likes on the video. Benefactor? It's really you. I have looked for you for a long time. It's really you. The flower shirt young man looked around at the crowd below and then at Wang Lin. Where are you? Brother, which one is my benefactor? Wang Lin silently looked at the madman before him. He could clearly see that the madman had no memory of him. Wang Lin let out a sigh as he descended from the sky and landed before the madman. Wang Lin whispered, Madman. The flower shirt young man stared at Wang Lin and roared, Madman? You re the madman? You dare to curse this king? Let me tell you, this king is powerful. Could it be that you are my benefactor? The madman rubbed his eyes and circled Wang Lin a few times. The youth in green was no longer hugging his leg and was waiting on the side. Okay, let's just say you are. Now that I greet my benefactor, I ask you, who beat up my little flower's grandpa? Was it him? The flower shirt young man pointed at the frowning imperial teacher. The celestial emperor's slightly angry voice came from the celestial Dao temple. Dao Fei, if you continue to mess around, I'll lug you up again. It is the title ceremony and Luo Gong challenged, but failed. It has nothing to do with the imperial teacher. Back down. The flower shirt young man was startled for a moment. He was confused and couldn't grasp the situation. He turned and grabbed the green-robed youth behind him. Help me organize things a bit. I am a little confused. If Little Flower's grandpa was not beaten up by the imperial teacher, then who did it? He challenged benefactor? It's a bit confusing. Quickly help me analyze the situation. The green youth had a bitter expression as he looked at Wang Lin, and then at the flower shirt young man before he spoke. King, let us go. I remember that we still have a furnace of pills that is being refined. If we go back late, the pills will be wasted. It is a furnace of pills you were going to gift Empyrean Exalt High Z. Pills? Yes, I am still refining pills. The flower shirt young man seemed to suddenly remember something and turned to leave. However, he suddenly stopped and turned around to roar at the youth in green. Something is wrong. Little Flower's grandpa was beaten. I still remember. You humph. Little Red, stop pretending to be dead and find out who beat up Little Flower's grandpa. This king will reward you. The flower shirt young man continued to wave his fan as he roared at Shu Liguo, who was pretending to be dead. Shu Liguo opened his eyes and jumped into the air. He revealed a flattering smile and quickly ran up. He quickly looked at the old man from the Luo family who had a bitter smile and then looked at Wang Lin. However, when his gaze met with Wang Lin's gaze, Shu Liguo's body trembled. This tremble came from the depths of his soul. He stared at Wang Lin dumbfoundedly. It felt like a dream, as if he had met Wang Lin before. This person was so familiar. Fiend Ma Shu Liguo subconsciously muttered as if some memory was about to awaken. However, at this moment the flower-shirt young man grabbed him and shook him. This shake awakened Shu Liguo from his confusion. His face was pale as he pointed at Wang Lin and quickly retreated. It's him. King, it was him who hurt little Flower's grandpa. Good, so it's you. The flowered shirt young man let out a roar and stopped waving his fan. He grabbed Wang Lin's neck with a vicious expression. I am going to strangle you to death. Wang Lin closed his eyes and hid the sadness in them. He knew that the madman didn't have any memories of the cave world. Dao Fei, leave. An angry voice came from the celestial Dao temple and the celestial emperor walked out. He waved his hand and the flower-shirt young man strangling Wang Lin was blown away like a willow leaf. The green-robed youth and Shu Liguo quickly left. They didn't dare to stay. The celestial emperor frowned and roared, Black armor guards, send him out of the palace and don't allow him to enter. Just you wait. You dared to injure little Flower's grandpa. This king will remember it. The voice from the flower-shirt young man slowly disappeared. When Wang Lin opened his eyes, the madman was gone. There was only a flash of light from the transfer array. Dao Fei has been like this ever since he came back. Sometimes his memory is blurry and sometimes it is clear. Perhaps he will recognize you when his memory is clear. The celestial emperor let out a sigh. At this moment, he was not a grand Empyrean or the celestial emperor, but a big brother. Wang Lin silently pondered. He had come to the ancestral city to see the madman. Even though the madman had lost his memories, Wang Lin had no regrets. He now wanted to leave. There is no need for the challenge to continue. Wang Lin, since you can pass through the palace of the Empyrean trial, I grant you the title of the 49th Ascendant Empyrean of the Celestial Clan. Since you have white hair, and have also obtained the strand of white hair from the Heaven Lion Beast, then I grant you the title of White-Haired Ascendant Empyrean. All Ascendant Empyreans of the Celestial Clan have a chance to enter the Celestial Ancestor's closed-door cultivation location. There, you will receive a great fortune and set a firm foundation for becoming a Grand Empyrean. Even your cultivation level will increase greatly there. Someone with the Imperial bloodline only has 3 chances to enter that place in their life. As for those without the Imperial bloodline, one will only obtain a chance after reaching the Ascendant Empyrean stage. This matter is extremely rare. Wang Lin, there has been some misunderstanding between us, and I hope this matter will be resolved. Cultivate well at the Celestial Ancestor's closed-door cultivation spot so you can strive to become the 6th son of the Celestial Clan. Become a pillar of the Celestial Clan, and spread the might of the Celestial Clan. The Celestial Emperor's expression was very sincere as he looked at Wang Lin in the distant transfer array. I only have this one younger brother. The Celestial Emperor sighed. Go to the Celestial Ancestor's closed-door cultivation spot. I let Dao Fei go there as well. Perhaps you can help him recover his memories of the past. When I found him, there was a woman beside him. That woman has also awakened and is at the Celestial Ancestor's closed-door cultivation spot, comprehending. The Celestial Ancestor looked at Wang Lin gently. Many thanks to Celestial Emperor. I only came here for the title ceremony, and now that it's over, I need to leave. If I come to the Ancestral City again, I'll head to the Celestial Ancestor's closed-door cultivation spot. Wang Lin clasped his hand and refused the reward of going to the Celestial Ancestor's closed-door cultivation spot. The Celestial Emperor silently pondered. He nodded and no longer tried to persuade Wang Lin. The title ceremony ended at noon. As the cultivators left the square, Wang Lin also left. He had declined the Celestial Emperor's invitation to stay in the palace and left the palace through a transfer array. He also stopped by the Li Mansion and then took the Sea Dragon and Liu Jinbiao back to the inn in the eastern city. I saw him even though he lost his memory. He looks very happy right now, and that's enough. Wang Lin stood by the window and looked out at the darkening sky. He had stood there for a whole afternoon. It's time to leave. Forget it. I'll take Shu Liguo and leave the ancestral city then to the ancient clan. Wang Lin let out a sigh. He was very tired. He had experienced a lot in the celestial clan, and now he had his current status and cultivation level. However, it was nothing compared to the lost memories of his friends. Perhaps I really misunderstood the celestial emperor. Wang Lin silently recalled the title ceremony. In truth, he had no reason to be so against the emperor, but it was just an intuition. But no matter what, I can go to the celestial ancestor's closed-door cultivation spot. Misunderstanding or not, I can lower my caution after hearing a few words. Wang Lin silently pondered as the snow began to fall outside the window. The snow drifted in the lights and then disappeared into the darkness. The wind and snow silently arrived. As the wind and snow became intense, a soft knock came from his door. This person did not speak fast or slow, and her voice was very gentle. Empyrean Exalt, Hi Z. Wang Lin turned around and the door was gently pushed open. Empyrean Exalt Hi Z was standing there, her long hair scattered behind her. There were some unmelted snowflakes in her hair, giving this already beautiful woman an extra hint of beauty. You came to the ancestral city. Why didn't you come to Mount Emperor today? Mount Emperor doesn't have red leaves, but there is snow. Wang Lin, I came on teacher's order to invite you to Mount Emperor. Since Grand Empyrean Zhu Di invited me, I'll naturally go. Wang Lin faintly smiled. Through the wind and snow, the moonlight reached down. The snow piled higher and higher as people quickly passed by, but soon there were fewer and fewer people. Wang Lin and Hai Zi faced the snow as they walked down the street. They left behind 4 long lines of footprints, but they were soon covered by the snow. Aside from specific places in the ancestral city, you aren't allowed to teleport. There is a transfer array not far away, so we will soon reach Mount Emperor. From what you said earlier, you intend to leave. When will you leave? Hai Zi asked softly as she walked beside Wang Lin. After Mount Emperor, I'll leave. Wang Lin's steps in the snow created creaking sounds. The surroundings were completely silent and only the sound of the snow remained. It felt like even the sound of the wind had disappeared. This was a long street, and the houses on the sides were completely dark, making this street look shady. There was a hint of killing intent that seemed to be hiding in the snow. Wang Lin suddenly stopped walking, and a flash of coldness appeared in his eyes. He felt a powerful sense of danger. Empyrean Exalt Hai Zi also stopped and suddenly looked around. There is a fluctuation of a seal. No one knows that I came looking for you. Empyrean Exalt Hai Zi quickly explained. Wang Lin silently pondered, but the coldness in his eyes became even more intense as he looked into the distance. The wind and snow became even more intense. Nearly 3,800 words, already quite long. Day by day people say it's short, look at others, all are 2,000 words a chapter. Leo is that long. Wouldn't you cast a like for Leo's video? The wind and snow sobbed like a woman's cry. The moon was covered by the wind and the stars by the snow. This long, ancient street was dark and there was shocking killing intent hidden here. The moment Wang Lin and Empyrean Exalt Hai Zi stopped, the snow before him fell even faster. 9,999 snowflakes seemed to gather before Wang Lin due to some force and formed a square pattern. The moment the square appeared, it flew toward Wang Lin and Hai Zi. Even more snow gathered, and its size expanded to thousands of feet in the blink of an eye. At the same time, a triangle pattern was formed behind Wang Lin and Empyrean Exalt Hai Zi. It was filled with killing intent and charged forward after absorbing a large amount of snowflakes. Everything happened in a flash. You cover the back, I'll cover the front. Wang Lin felt danger in his heart. He didn't doubt Empyrean Exalt Hai Zi. Even though it looked like this was related to Hai Zi, Wang Lin trusted his intuition more. After Wang Lin spoke, he charged forward toward the square pattern ahead. Empyrean Exalt Hai Zi's expression was extremely gloomy, and her beautiful face was filled with anger. She was angry that someone had borrowed her, inviting Wang Lin to Mount Emperor to kill him. Once the other party was successful, this matter would shake the entire Celestial clan, and her teacher would be implicated. She knew it was not the time to explain, and all words were pointless in the face of action. When she heard Wang Lin's trusting words, she felt warmth in her heart, but on her face, killing intent appeared. It was directed toward the person who had set this trap. Without hesitation, Empyrean Exalt Hai Zi turned around, leaving her back to Wang Lin. She charged toward the 3-sided deformed pattern. Wang Lin took 3 steps toward the square pattern before him. At this moment, the heavenly bull tattoo appeared around him. Facing this situation, Wang Lin used his full power without hesitation. With one punch, 98 afterimages appeared. It was a shocking sight on this long street. The 98 afterimages all threw punches. After fusing with Wang Lin's body, it was the same as 99 spells fused together. This punch contained 23 spells, With 23 spells, a total of 99 times the power could not be used in full, so some power would be lost. But Wang Lin's punch paused 3 times. After the first pause, his 5-element true body overlapped with his body and the number of spells in his punch increased from 23 to 46. There was a second pause, and then the number of spells inside his punch increased to 69. The moment he collided with the square pattern, Wang Lin's punch paused once more, and the number of spells inside increased a third time to the 92 limit before he used his avatar in the void. With the soul armor, the 92 spells in each punch with 99 punches fused into one before colliding with the square pattern. Thunderous rumbles echoed, and the world changed colors. All the snow within 1,000 feet of Wang Lin shattered, making it seem as if this area had become a black hole. The square pattern trembled and suddenly exploded. It was destroyed by Wang Lin's punch. Although it had collapsed, there was a strange force inside. This force entered Wang Lin's body when his fist touched the square pattern, causing him to suddenly stop. This force entered Wang Lin's body and formed a fine net. This net seemed to be inside Wang Lin's meridians and blood, forming a seal inside his body. Wang Lin couldn't figure out the mysterious power, but he had a vague feeling that this power was the power of null. Because there is existence, it will become null once it is lost. This power of null was something Wang Lin had only seen from the imperial teacher Xianxia. The moment the seal appeared inside Wang Lin and he stopped, 3 figures appeared in the snow before him. The 3 of them were covered by the wind and snow. Their appearance couldn't be seen, as if they were an illusion. The 3 of them all formed seals and condensed the wind and snow into their right palms. Then they rushed toward Wang Lin. At the same time, 3 people appeared on Wang Lin's left and 3 more on his right. They were also covered by the wind and snow. The 3 on the left had their right thumbs out, and the 3 on the left had their left pinky fingers out as they pointed at Wang Lin. 3 shadows also appeared behind Wang Lin. Their actions were the opposite of the 3 in front. Their lance hands formed palms, and they struck toward Wang Lin. Above Wang Lin, 3 more people appeared. The 3 of them didn't form palms or point, but stabbed at Wang Lin with 3 silver swords. Front, back, left, right, and up. A total of 15 people had appeared at the same time to kill Wang Lin. All 15 people had Empyrean Exalt cultivation, and the moment of their attack was when Wang Lin's cultivation was sealed. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed and he let out a roar at this moment of crisis. He didn't hesitate to use the full power of the soul armor, and the ancient Tao power filled his body, making his body extremely powerful. His right foot mercilessly stomped the ground. A thunderous bang rang out, sounding like a mountain was collapsing. Wang Lin moved at an indescribable speed from the borrowed force. He didn't charge forward but retreated instead. His back smashed into the hands raised by the 3 people. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The 3 shadows behind Wang Lin coughed out blood. They suffered backlash from Wang Lin's powerful body. The veil covering their faces were blown away, revealing their identities. They were 3 old men. Wang Lin had never seen them before. The 3 retreated in horror. As they retreated, Wang Lin also retreated past the 3 of them. His hand reached out and mercilessly grabbed the heads of 2 of the old men. There was monstrous, killing intent in his eyes as he squeezed. In an instant, blood and flesh splattered, and these 2 people were directly killed by Wang Lin. He inhaled their origin souls into his body. As for the last person, Wang Lin's body smashed into him once more, and his body shattered. Out of the 15 people, 3 of them had instantly died, but the remaining people didn't stop. They charged at Wang Lin at a very fast speed and arrived near him in a flash. The 3 in front coughed out blood in exchange for a surge in speed. In an instant, they were less than 5 feet away. Wang Lin raised his left hand and waved. He used one arm to block their 3 palms. The 3 of them all trembled and the wind revealed their faces. The 6 people on Wang Lin's left and right all pointed to the sides of Wang Lin's body. 6 fingers landed on Wang Lin, and his face immediately turned pale. The restriction power in his body increased greatly and his cultivation weakened greatly. At the same time, in the sky, 3 swords shot toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin let out a roar and raised his left hand to punch the 3 of them. 2 swords collapsed and the owner's body shattered. However, one person still closed in and stabbed the sword 3 inches into Wang Lin's forehead. Intense pain filled Wang Lin's body and blood flowed down into his eyes. This caused the world before him to turn blood-colored. The calmness in his eyes was blocked by the blood, so outsiders couldn't see his calmness. Without hesitation, Wang Lin let out a roar and dragged these 12 people toward the end of the street. The wind and snow became even more intense. Just at this moment, a thunderous rumble came from the earth below Wang Lin as 3 shadows rushed out from the ground. The 3 figures were completely black and seemed to be out of place in the snow. The 3 of them formed seals and pointed at their bodies. Popping sounds echoed, and the 3 of them became like origin souls as they rushed at Wang Lin. 9 more shadows appeared down the street. They charged toward Wang Lin without hesitation. Their hands formed seals, and they used a special spell to fuse together into an ice dragon in the sky. The dragon let out a roar and rushed toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin! Empyrean Exalt High Z's miserable voice came from behind. With her strength, she couldn't last long, but the 9 of them didn't want to kill her. They just wanted to keep her trapped. Is this it? Wang Lin's eyes hidden by the blood were still calm. There was a flash of killing intent and he suddenly stopped as the ice dragon closed in. This pause caused a giant heavenly bull to appear around Wang Lin. This heavenly bull appeared so suddenly, it was startling. It was almost solid, as if the real heavenly bull had resurrected. All of you die! Wang Lin raised his head and the heavenly bull's head rose up and collided with the ice dragon. The ice dragon let out a miserable howl and cracks rapidly spread across it before it shattered. The 9 figures appeared when the ice dragon shattered. Their faces were filled with fear as they coughed out blood and were knocked back with pale faces. But the slaughter was not over, and the wind and snow became even more intense. The last day of June, wishing for the like button for the VIDEO. A sweep of the like button for the VIDEO each month. The June ticket expires tonight at 12. The heavenly bull appeared and knocked away the ice dragon. It also directly smashed into the 12 people closing in on Wang Lin. From afar, this scene was like a picture. If someone could paint it, it would be passed down for ages. On the picture stood a giant, golden bull with 12 cultivators around it. The 6 people on the left and right had their fingers pointed at the heavenly bull. But their bodies trembled and they coughed out blood before being knocked back. Their fingers and arms collapsed into a bloody mess. The 3 in front pressed their palms down, but their bodies erupted with blood mist and they rapidly retreated. As for the 3 that had stabbed their swords into the heavenly bull's forehead, they began to retreat, but their swords collapsed and they were hit by the heavenly bull. They coughed out blood and rapidly retreated. The most miserable ones were the 3 black shadows. They might have attempted to possess Wang Lin, but at that moment, the heavenly bull appeared. The 3 shadows were swallowed by the heavenly bull. The golden bull roared and Wang Lin's hands formed a seal before pointing forward. The golden bull charged forward and collided with the ice dragon that had been knocked back. The 9 people that formed the ice dragon let out miserable screams. The golden bull didn't stop here. It rushed to the end of the street before exploding. The power of the explosion was enough to shake the world and collapse the entire eastern city. However, its collapse only set off the wind and snow. The buildings weren't shaken at all. Wang Lin's pupils shrank, and he stepped forward. He appeared before the 3 people that had escaped the charge of the golden bull. He turned into fog and shrouded them. Endless cries echoed as Wang Lin absorbed their flesh and blood and devoured their origin souls. Then the fog spread out toward the rest. The 6 people that had their fingers collapsed quickly retreated. They watched in despair as the fog split in 2 and devoured the 6 of them. At the same time, a yin blade appeared inside the fog and chopped at the 3 retreating figures in the sky. Their bodies trembled and were split in half. Then their origin souls were absorbed by the fog below. The wind and snow howled along with a sobbing sound mixed in. The fog Wang Lin had turned into swept toward the 9 people around Empyrean Exalt High Z. The 9 of them had personally witnessed this terrifying scene and gave up surrounding Empyrean Exalt High Z. They retreated like crazy, but their speed was nothing compared to Wang Lin's fog, so he instantly caught up. The fog spread out and left only 9 withered skeletons. The surroundings were completely silent and covered in skeletons. The fog Wang Lin had turned into reformed next to Empyrean Exalt High Z. His face was pale, and he coughed out a mouthful of blood. The blood was a shocking sight on the snow. Let's go. Wang Lin stepped forward and rushed toward the end of the long street. Empyrean Exalt High Z bit her lower lip and followed. This battle was something she would find difficulty participating in. More than 30 people had been mobilized for this, and each of them had Empyrean Exalt cultivation. Empyrean Exalt High Z had many friends, and had met most of the Empyrean Exalts. However, she had never seen these 30 people before. They were all strangers. They are not Empyrean Exalt cultivators. They had their cultivation levels increased to Empyrean Exalt by force. It won't last long. The reason Wang Lin was sure was because he had devoured the origin souls of more than 30 of them. He wanted to use them to form another spell vein, but found that their origin souls were not pure and would require some time to refine. However, even after all of them were gathered, it was only enough to form one spell vein. And from absorbing their origin souls, Wang Lin was able to determine that they only had 1 hour to live. They were paying a great price, their own lives, in exchange for 1 hour of cultivation boost. Wang Lin now had 5 spell veins and could create 98 afterimages. If he could add one more, his combat power would increase greatly. There is the shadow of the Imperial Teacher in this trap. I still have not resolved the power from the square pattern. I only delayed it slightly. If I can resolve this seal, then my combat power will be affected. Wang Lin rushed forward in the wind and snow and got closer to the end of the street. He had rapidly searched the memories of the origin souls, but it was a complete blur. Someone had already erased them. This place has been sealed. Earlier I tried to use the power of the Heavenly Bull to break the restriction, but it wasn't shaken. The person who set this up has already considered possible help from the outside. As a result, there is no need to think about Grand Empyrean Judy. If I was setting up this trap, there are 2 preparations I would make. One is to block all auras from this place, and the other would be to find someone to restrict Grand Empyrean Judy. Of course, all of this is on the pretense that it wasn't Grand Empyrean Judy who set it up, but my intuition tells me it is not Judy. The person who set this up is perhaps waiting for the final blow to kill me. Wang Lin's mind went through all these thoughts rapidly as he rushed toward the end of the street with Empyrean Exalt High Z. But just at this moment, 3 figures appeared in the wind and snow. These 3 floated in the air and stared at Wang Lin. They turned into 3 red rays of light and closed in. The 3 of them weren't close yet, but power close to that of an ascendant Empyrean spread out from their bodies. Behind the 3 of them, 2 more people walked out from the wind and snow. These 2 people had ascendant Empyrean cultivation. They watched coldly as they raised their hands and black wind howled, forming 2 giant black pythons that coiled in the sky. Soul Armor Messenger! Wang Lin recognized them at a glance. These 2 are unfamiliar. I have seen the remaining 48 Ascendant Empyreans at the Purple Yang sect, but I have never seen these 2. And none of them have soul armors. They must have had their cultivation levels raised to Ascendant Empyrean through a special method and then given the soul armors. In the Ancestral City, the only person that can do this is the Celestial Emperor. Wang Lin's eyes became cold. He raised his foot and his left hand pushed Empyrean Exalt High Z aside. High Z, back off. They won't hurt you. Don't participate in this battle. Wang Lin Empyrean Exalt High Z looked anxious and wanted to explain, but Wang Lin's left hand pushed her a few hundred feet away. She watched Wang Lin charge at the 5 of them like a moth flying into the flame. These 5 people, 3 in white and 2 in black, turned into 5 rays of light and rapidly closed in on Wang Lin. The wind and snow raged in the long street that was covered in corpses. The wind and snow intensified as these 6 people began the second slaughter of this battle to the death. Kill! Wang Lin's eyes were red as he roared. His right hand turned into the yin blade as he charged at them. There was nothing fancy about this battle to the death. The 3 people in white in front didn't use many spells, only 2. The first was to gather power to turn into wind and snow to sweep toward Wang Lin. The second was self-destruction. Thunderous rumbles shook the world. After Wang Lin cut open the wind and snow, he was faced with the self-destruction of the 3 people in white. Wang Lin waved his right hand. 99 War Spirit prints materialized. 92 of them looked real and condensed together to resist the self-destruction of the 3 cultivators in white. This huge shock and rumble still couldn't cause the restriction here to collapse. As Wang Lin charged out, the 2 people in black surrounded by the 2 black pythons also rushed forward. The 3 of them collided. Thunderous rumbles echoed, and the 2 in black coughed out blood. One of them directly exploded, and a line of blood appeared on the forehead of the other before being cut in half. Wang Lin charged forward 100 feet and staggered. His yin blade stabbed into the ground as he coughed out a mouthful of blood that gave off white gas. Just as Wang Lin held himself up with the yin blade, a hand appeared behind him. This hand silently appeared and directly pointed to the back of Wang Lin's hand. This finger contained an unspeakable strangeness, as if it didn't exist. However, it appeared like how a grand Empyrean could create something from nothing. This finger pointed down, and when it was 7 inches from Wang Lin, he didn't turn around. Instead, he charged forward and twisted his body. The yin blade that was stabbed into the ground swept back and collided with the finger. Crackling sounds echoed and a large amount of cracks appeared on Wang Lin's yin blade. The countless fragments of the blade reflected the calmness in Wang Lin's eyes. It seemed like he wasn't surprised by the collapse of the yin blade, and at this moment, his eyes revealed a dazzling, golden light. This golden light came from his strongest avatar in the void. He hadn't used his avatar yet because he had been waiting for this finger to appear. It was also the owner of this finger that placed the square pattern that lowered Wang Lin's combat power. When the golden light appeared, the restriction inside Wang Lin's body became extremely weak and shattered. All his cultivation recovered, and the golden light that reflected off the fragments of the yin blade formed a formation. Wang Lin's restriction essence was complete, so he could place formations anytime he wished. He used the fragments of the yin blade to reflect the light from his eyes to form a small formation. Wang Lin raised his left hand toward the golden light and pointed at the finger pointing at him. In dreams, Leo sees his video standing in 3rd place on the popular charts. Hoping to garner more fan support and looking for help from you all to climb even higher in the rankings this month. This point was Wang Lin's peak power. Not only did it contain his avatar in the void, but also the full power of his soul armor. Wang Lin's 5-element true body and thunder essence true body appeared. Even his 3 ethereal essences appeared, forming 3 large vortexes behind him. All the force entered his finger. Due to the formation created by the golden light and the sword fragment, Wang Lin could erupt the power of his avatar in the void to its limit. Wang Lin wanted to use this to kill the person behind the finger. Wang Lin has always been like this. If someone tried to kill him, he would kill them. The wind and snow echoed across the long street. The finger that appeared from the void suddenly collided with Wang Lin's finger filled with slaughter. In the snow and wind, when the 2 fingers collided, Wang Lin's ancient Tao power surged. It was the first to collide with the other finger. Thunderous rumbles echoed. The 98 afterimages from the 5 spell veins fused into one, and, along with the power of the heavenly bull, formed the second shockwave against the finger. Thunderous rumbles echoed across the world like thunder in the silent night. This caused Empyrean Exalt High Z, who was rushing in to help, to stop, and she was unable to move forward. The finger paused for a moment and its veins bulged. It seemed like it could not withstand Wang Lin's finger. However, this was not over. Wang Lin's 5-element true body, thunder essence true body, and the 3 ethereal essences formed the 3rd shockwave. This attack contained Wang Lin's lifetime of comprehension of Tao. Thunderous rumbles echoed and blood flowed down from Wang Lin's finger. However, he didn't flinch. He let out a roar and rushed forward. The 4th wave came from Wang Lin's avatar in the void. This force came from Wang Lin's eyes and turned into golden light that shrouded his fingertip. Due to the surrounding yin blade fragments reflecting light, Wang Lin's finger became golden. A golden finger. The peak of power caused the other finger to resist for a moment and then suddenly collapse. However, just as the finger collapsed, a calm voice echoed in the world. Because there is loss, once it reforms, there will be existence. As these words echoed, the collapsed finger reformed as if nothing had happened, and it collided with Wang Lin's finger once more. Because there is existence, it will become null once it is lost. The moment the 2 fingers touch, Wang Lin's ancient Tao power disappeared as if it had turned to null. In addition, the spells he had gathered and the power of the heavenly bull also disappeared as if they had been blown out of existence. Even his 5-element true body and the thunder essence true body disappeared under this strange force. However, his 3 ethereal essences remained. These 3 essences were the earliest of Wang Lin's essences. They represented Wang Lin's entire life of comprehension. This understanding of life and death, karma, and true and false was not something any force could dispel. What also remained was the golden light from Wang Lin's avatar in the void. Thunderous rumbles echoed and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. As he was knocked back, he waved his right hand, and the yin blade fragment formation flew toward the finger that had collapsed, but it looked like it was going to reform a third time. Thunderous rumbles echoed across the long street, and the snow seemed to stop. The finger that was about to reform collapsed once more but showed signs of reforming for the fourth time. Wang Lin retreated quickly and arrived at the end of the street. This was the edge of the seal. He just needed to break this spot to leave the street and escape this trap. However, just as he closed in, there were ripples from the houses on both sides of the street, and 100 figures appeared. These 100 figures all revealed in different gazes. The moment they appeared, all of them raised their hands and bows appeared, aiming at Wang Lin. They all pulled their bowstrings, and 100 snow arrows condensed on them. As the 100 snow arrows condensed, the 100 people coughed out blood into their respective arrows. Then their bodies rapidly withered, as if those mouthfuls of blood had absorbed all their life force. Death cultivators! Wang Lin's pupils shrank. Everyone that had appeared in this trap aside from the finger was a death cultivator. They had all used death as the price to set up this terrifying trap. Wang Lin had encountered this kind of situation many times before, but none of them were like this. In all those previous times, the people that were after Wang Lin cared about their own lives, but these people didn't care if they died. In the blink of an eye, the bodies of the 100 figures disappeared. Not even their bones remained. However, when they died, the arrows were released and 100 buzzing sounds echoed. As the buzzing echoed, the 100 blood snow arrows flew toward Wang Lin from all directions. They turned into 100 rays of light and instantly closed in, giving Wang Lin no chance to dodge. Wang Lin let out a roar. His hands formed a seal and he pushed them outward. His white hair went crazy and his clothes fluttered. A golden sun appeared in the windy and snowy night behind Wang Lin. The moment the sun appeared, the long street disappeared, and the entire world became the dark sea. The sun rose, releasing the power to dispel the darkness. Sundered night! The moment this spell appeared, the incoming 100 blood arrows seemed to fuse with the darkness and were torn apart along with the darkness. Thunderous rumbles continued to echo. Wang Lin's voice echoed in the rumble. I believe all darkness will be destroyed before the light. I believe all existence will go extinct under the rising sun. I believe that all void and null will be unable to enter reincarnation. As Wang Lin spoke, the golden sun around his body shined even more brightly, and the 100 arrows collapsed. Even the finger that had reformed for a third time released hissing sounds and large amounts of black gas. Wang Lin let out a roar and waved his hand. The sun formed by sundered night swept forward and bombarded everything in its path. The night dissipated and the figure that appeared collapsed after colliding with the sun. As the rumbling echoed, the surrounding light disappeared and returned to normal. It was still the same long street, and the wind and snow covered the world. However, there were 7 gaps in Wang Lin's clothes. 7 of the arrow fragments hadn't collapsed in the sun, and they had pierced through Wang Lin's body. Blood flowed out from his mouth, and he staggered back a few steps. His right hand formed a fist, and he punched the edge of the long street that was sealed. When his punch landed, the void around the long street began to distort. A ring-shaped shield appeared like a bowl and shrouded the street. The moment before the ripples disappeared, Wang Lin saw that there were 10,000 cultivators in black sitting outside the street. These black-robed cultivators seemed to be connected together through a kind of force. It was them that had sealed this place with this strange force. You can escape! A calm voice echoed across the street. As the voice echoed, the collapsed finger appeared once more. In order to kill you, I will send out my sect's strongest power. As the voice echoed, the ripples on the street disappeared. When the ripples disappeared, the outside world Wang Lin was seeing became blurry until it was a void with nothing inside. However, the moment the images of the outside disappeared, Wang Lin saw that 100 people among the 10,000 had each devoured a pill. Their bodies collapsed and smoke-like origin souls flew toward the long street that had been sealed. At the same time, 100 blurry shadows appeared in the wind and snow. They all released Empyrean Exalt cultivation and charged at Wang Lin while completely disregarding their lives. Wang Lin's eyes were calm, but there was a hint of light in them as he looked through the 100 figures rushing at him. His gaze fell on the finger that had reformed and was floating there motionlessly. Since you don't want me to leave, then I want to leave today. The best way to deal with this death trap is to kill all of you. This trap will break when I do that. Wang Lin's white hair began to extend, and the roots turned black, looking as if his hair was going to turn black. His eyes revealed a sense of ruthlessness in the calmness. This was an indifference to the world, and there wasn't any hint of emotion in them. At this moment, Wang Lin was like a piece of never-melting ice. I originally didn't want slaughter to descend, but now all of you must now suffer my slaughter. Wang Lin closed his eyes. It was as if a battle celestial had descended. For the first time, his slaughter thunder avatar had taken control. It was also the first time Wang Lin had released the restriction essence and the absolute beginning essence. This allowed the slaughter and absolute end essences to erupt. From yesterday until now, Leo has only slept for 2 hours, can't take it anymore. Today there's only the first watch. Leo wants to catch up on sleep. After the salon ends, the missing chapters will be compensated. The roar of slaughter and destruction fused together to form the slaughter thunder that would erase all life. This thunder contained destruction and was the framework of annihilation. Its existence was the source of all darkness in the world, the expression of all death and destruction. When Wang Lin opened his eyes, they contained no light. They were completely dark. This darkness replaced his pupils, and his hair turned completely black. Long black hair and black eyes. I wonder if I can even pass the first palace in the Empyrean trial in my current state. There was a smile on the corner of Wang Lin's mouth, but if anyone saw this smile, they would feel a chill. This was not a smile of joy, but cruelty. When Empyrean Exalt High Z saw Wang Lin's smile from a distance, her entire body turned cold. She felt like the Wang Lin she was familiar with had become a complete stranger. The black-haired Wang Lin made her feel extreme fear, as if he was a natural enemy of hers. Her body trembled, and she retreated several steps. The finger that had appeared in the void slowly withdrew. It was as if the void contained a pair of eyes filled with shock. Let the slaughter begin. Wang Lin jumped into the air, and a rumble echoed from his body. Countless bolts of black thunder appeared around Wang Lin. He let out a roar at the sky, and they shot toward the hundreds of figures coming toward him. These hundreds of figures normally wouldn't feel fear. They were death cultivators, and their goal was to die to complete their task. Even their emotions were suppressed and almost erased. However, at this moment, when they heard the black-haired Wang Lin's roar, their hearts trembled. However, they no longer had a path of retreat, so they charged at him together. The black-haired Wang Lin's smile revealed cruelty, and his eyes were filled with madness. As he stepped forward, he closed in on the hundreds of people. He waved his right hand, and the black thunder formed a net. Thunderous rumbles echoed as the dozens of people in front all self-destructed. When the net closed in, the power of the self-destruction collided with the thunder net. But the strange part was that although this force could destroy the world, it was very fragile before this net. The thunder net scattered into countless nets and shot forward. Anyone who was touched by this thunder trembled, and their body shattered. Wang Lin walked like the wind. Facing these hundreds of people, thunder continued to spread out from his body. Anyone who charged at him was destroyed. He moved very fast and appeared behind a figure in an instant. He raised his right hand and pointed at the figure. Black thunder shot out, and the cultivator trembled before exploding. Unveil eye! Wang Lin's body trembled, and he continued to kill. He seemed to no longer feel fatigue or know of injuries. The power of the self-destructions bombarded him, but it was not able to cause him to pause at all. In a short period of time, more than half of the figures died to Wang Lin's thunder. The remaining 100 people gathered to form a formation when someone roared, "Bind formation!" The earth trembled and energy seemed to erupt from below. The 100 people turned into a giant palm. This palm was black and reached directly for Wang Lin. Wang Lin didn't pause. He raised his hand, and hundreds of black thunderbolts appeared. The destruction and killing intent within them formed black gas that covered Wang Lin. They flew toward the palm like countless meteors. Rumble, 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 rumble. The palm suddenly collapsed, and the 100 people inside all died. When Wang Lin walked out, blood was flowing out of his mouth, but the madness in his eyes had become even more intense. As he stepped forward, ripples echoed in the void before him. The finger that had disappeared suddenly reappeared and pointed to between Wang Lin's eyebrows. Every existence will become null when the finger landed, this mysterious voice echoed. However, under the finger, Wang Lin suddenly looked up. The madness in his eyes became even stronger and showed no signs of dissipating. Destroying is to make all existence null. With your mere power you dare to make me disappear? Wang Lin raised his right hand and threw a punch. With his punch, a large amount of ripples appeared in the void and a faint, muffled groan echoed, sounding as if someone was injured. The finger that was pointing at Wang Lin immediately collapsed. Just as the finger disappeared, thousands of blurry figures appeared on both sides of the street. After they appeared, they all charged at Wang Lin. The cruelty on his smile was strong and the madness in his eyes was monstrous. He turned, and his black hair grew even longer. His hair split into countless strands and spread in all directions before touching the thousands of figures closing in. Thunderous echoes rumbled. The moment the thousands of figures were touched by the black hair, they decided to self-destruct. This created a vortex of destruction that shrouded Wang Lin. As the rumbles echoed, Wang Lin coughed out a large amount of blood, but the bombardment was being resisted by the countless slaughter thunderbolts around him. Thousands of figures appeared on the street again, and another batch of thousands of people appeared behind them. They were intent on making this trap successful. Wang Lin's expression was fierce, and he let out a roar at the sky. His right hand grabbed something off his chest. Heavenly Bull Soul Armor, get out of here! With a roar, his right hand pulled off the Heavenly Bull Soul Armor. He no longer had the Heavenly Bull Soul Armor on his body. After the armor was thrown away, the madness in Wang Lin's eyes disappeared and turned into a dead calmness. However, that cruel smile still remained on his face. After losing the soul armor, the black-haired Wang Lin's cultivation level decreased, but his slaughter gas increased several-fold. In just a few breaths, the black gas around Wang Lin became even more dense, and he rushed toward the thousands of people. The slaughter continued as Empyrean Exalt High Zia's heart trembled. Wang Lin was like a demon god. For every person he killed, another strand of slaughter would appear around him. Every person he killed made Empyrean Exalt High Z feel even more unfamiliar toward Wang Lin. Amidst this crazed slaughter, thousands of bodies were torn apart after just a moment. Wang Lin's body was surrounded by endless strands of black gas, and his body could no longer be seen. Just at this moment, the disappeared finger appeared outside the black gas around Wang Lin, and mercilessly pointed toward him. However, before the finger could land, Wang Lin grabbed it and mercilessly pulled it while laughing. With this, half an arm was pulled out. "Come out for me!" Wang Lin roared as he pulled the AMR out. The world rumbled and the arm collapsed. That muffled groan came from the void again. "Everyone, enter this place, and kill this person!" A voice filled with killing intent came from the void. As the voice echoed, figures rapidly appeared from the side of the street. Tens of thousands of figures appeared. They completely ignored Empyrean Exalt High Z and charged at Wang Lin. The black-haired Wang Lin retreated a few steps, now surrounded by a large amount of black gas. The death in his eyes formed a startling contrast with the cruel smile on his face. He raised his hand and mercilessly hit his forehead. "Five-element true body, get out of here!" With this, Wang Lin's body trembled and an overlapping shape appeared over his body. His five-element true body was knocked out from his body. The five-element true body was knocked out, and its expression was extremely serious. He appeared beside Empyrean Exalt High Z and gazed over. After losing the five-element true body, Wang Lin's cultivation level decreased, but the slaughter aura around him became even more pure. Restriction essence, get out of here! Absolute beginning essence, get out of here! Thunder essence, also get out of here! The black-haired Wang Lin continued to roar until his essences were knocked out of his body. At this moment, the tens of thousands of figures closed in. Inside the black gas, Wang Lin raised his head. The death in his eyes remained the same, but the cruel smile had dissipated a lot. He charged toward the tens of thousands of people and began a slaughter. Thunderous rumbles echoed, and a moment later, Wang Lin was knocked back, coughing out blood. He felt like his body was going to break. No matter how strong he was, he could not survive the attacks of tens of thousands of people. Unveil I. Life and death, karma, and true and false, get out of here! The black-haired Wang Lin let out a roar and his body trembled. His three ethereal essences were forced out of his body as well. At this moment, the black-haired Wang Lin only had two essences, slaughter and absolute end. There were also no essence true bodies, only his original body. The black gas around his body suddenly shrank into a black robe around him. His hair had turned completely black, his eyes were filled with death, and there was no longer a smile on his mouth. He looked like the embodiment of death. He calmly looked at the tens of thousands of people rushing toward him and closed his eyes. When he closed his eyes, the tens of thousands of people trembled, and when he reopened his eyes, they all disappeared before him. What disappeared was also the street and the houses on the side. They became ruins and dust in history. Even the snowflakes turned black as they fell. Restrain the heavenly Tao. All souls beneath the heavens must suffer divine tribulation. Free thyself from convictions that lead only to destruction and walk the path of the true Tao, Wang Lin muttered, as he raised his right hand to grab the finger that had suddenly appeared beside him. Then he lightly squeezed it. With a crackling sound, the finger was crushed. With one pull, a figure emitting white light was pulled out of the void. You re not the imperial teacher. Wang Lin didn't look at the figure emitting white light. He loosened his right hand and directly grabbed the figure's neck before squeezing again. The figure trembled violently and suddenly collapsed. You re not Wang Lin. Who are you? Empyrean Exalt Xianxia's voice was filled with fear as it echoed in this silent night. The black-haired Wang Lin turned and coldly looked at Xianxia as he walked over. Aimlessly wishing for the like button for the video. Who are you? Empyrean Exalt Xianxia was extremely pale. Her beautiful eyes were filled with indescribable fear. Her body subconsciously retreated as Wang Lin walked over. Wang Lin? I am not called Wang Lin. My name I should be Slaughter. The black-haired Wang Lin slowly walked toward Empyrean Exalt Xianxia. His expression was cold, without any emotion. It was extremely indifferent. Wang Lin's five-element true body had an extremely serious expression. He was beside Empyrean Exalt Xianxia, staring at the black-haired Wang Lin. Around him, the thunder essence, the absolute beginning essence, and the three ethereal essences lit up as if they were joining together to resist the black-haired Wang Lin. Slaughter has descended onto this world and replaced light to become destruction. All life must endure endless suffering. Empyrean Exalt Xianxia retreated in fear when Wang Lin's five-element true body walked forward. He represented his many essences to confront the black-haired Wang Lin. You read just my five-element true body and essences, and you want to stop me. The black-haired Wang Lin looked at the five-element true body. Since I appeared, I'll not return until the slaughter and destruction are complete. You disappear! The black-haired Wang Lin's eyes contained no light as he waved his hand at the five-element true body. With this wave, the five-element true body revealed a sign of struggle but instantly collapsed. The true body turned back into the five essences and flew toward black-haired Wang Lin's right hand before disappearing. Now, tell me who you are. The black-haired Wang Lin stopped before Empyrean Exalt Xianxia and looked at her. His voice was cold and contained killing intent. Empyrean Exalt Xianxia's face was pale and she opened her mouth to say something, but in the end, didn't say anything. Judy didn't invite me to Mount Emperor. Isn't that the case? This trap used you as bait to lure me out. Isn't that the case? Empyrean Exalt Xianxia, your identity, aside from being a disciple of Grand Empyrean Judy, you should also be part of the Imperial Teacher S sect. Isn't that the case? Back at the mountain sea, the broken palm didn't go crazy. It chose to attack you because you are the same as me. Neither of us belongs to the immortal astral continent. I came from the cave world, and you came from outside the immortal astral continent. That is to say, the Imperial Teacher S sect came from outside the immortal astral continent, the black-haired Wang Lin said calmly, and every word made Empyrean Exalt Xianxia's face even paler. She bit her lower lip and remained silent for a long time before looking up at Wang Lin. My original body is still a bit too soft. He should have seen through it, but he chose not to believe it. The black-haired Wang Lin shook his head. His gaze was heartless as he raised his palm and smashed down on Empyrean Exalt Xianxia. He was going to kill her. This palm was enough to destroy Empyrean Exalt Xianxia's body and origin soul. Empyrean Exalt Xianxia didn't dodge. She closed her eyes and tears flowed from the corner of her eyes. She didn't explain anything at all. The palm closed in on Empyrean Exalt Xianxia. It was less than 3 inches away and she looked like she was about to collapse. At this moment, a sharp force that could break the world appeared out of thin air behind Empyrean Exalt Xianxia. This force turned into a figure that had a slightly hunched back and looked like an old man. His left hand pulled Haizi back, and at the same time, he raised his right hand up to meet Wang Lin's palm. A thunderous rumble echoed and the black-haired Wang Lin's body trembled as he was knocked back. Popping sounds echoed inside his body as if he was going to explode. After he retreated 7 steps, his body collapsed into black gas but instantly reformed. The black-haired Wang Lin stopped at the 9th step. His expression was neutral, and he was not surprised at all as he coldly looked at the old man that had saved Haizi. Zhu Di. The old man was Grand Empyrean Zhu Di. His expression was serious. After saving Haizi, he also looked at Wang Lin. The black-haired Wang Lin calmly said, "In this trap, aside from the Imperial Teacher's power, there is also you. Destruction and slaughter. I had wondered what you used to pass the T8 Dallas. With your cultivation level, just the soul armor is not enough to reach that level. So it turns out you have the power that represents slaughter and destruction." Judi's pupils shrank slightly. That palm contained the power of a Grand Empyrean, but it had only forced Wang Lin back 9 steps. Is this the reason you participated in this trap, or did you only notice this trap and took advantage of the situation to resolve the doubts in your mind? The black-haired Wang Lin's calm eyes became even more cold. After he spoke, he actually charged toward Zhu Di. This was his first time attacking a Grand Empyrean. However, his charge didn't cause Zhu Di to feel contempt. It made him become even more serious. He raised his right hand and the world changed colors. The wind and snow condensed into a huge snow sword that swept toward Wang Lin. "I represent destruction and control slaughter." The black-haired Wang Lin raised his hand and punched at the snow sword as it fell. This punch collided with the snow sword, and a thunderous rumble echoed. The snow sword collapsed, but Wang Lin's body also collapsed into countless strands of black gas. He suddenly changed directions and rushed toward Zhu Di. Zhu Di frowned. As the large amount of black gas closed in, he raised his hand and formed a circle before him. In an instant, bright light shined like the sun had appeared. This light formed a seal, and it rapidly spread from his hand. The light scattered and collided with the incoming black gas. It was like a confrontation between darkness and light. The light dissipated, and Zhu Di didn't move at all, but his eyes revealed a monstrous light. The black gas before him covered the light and reformed into the black-haired Wang Lin before Zhu Di. "You can beat this old man?" Grand Empyrean Zhu Di looked at Wang Lin. His old face showed signs of returning toward middle age as his eyes shined. The black-haired Wang Lin slowly said, "You can hide from destruction and slaughter." White-haired Ascendant Empyrean, black-haired Ascendant Empyrean Wang Lin, I underestimated you. This time, Haizi is innocent. I will give this to you and the matter today is over. Zhu Di reached at the void and there was a flash of golden light. A palm-sized golden fragment appeared in his hand. "I have observed your body and found traces of this sword. This fragment can help your metal essence reach completion." Zhu Di waved his right hand and the fragment flew toward Wang Lin. It floated before him motionlessly. After giving him the sword fragment, Zhu Di looked at Wang Lin profoundly. He then turned and left with Empyrean Exalt Haizi, who was still silently pondering. After he disappeared, the seal around the street disappeared, but the ruins would remain eternally. In the distance, the sun gradually appeared to dissipate the darkness and shroud the earth in light. The black-haired Wang Lin stood there and looked up at the sky. He silently pondered for a long time. As time passed, the sun rose into the sky and the light spread out like a ripple. The light rapidly spread across the eastern city. When the ripples that represented the light arrived at the street, Wang Lin still didn't move. He looked at the light that got closer and closer until it swept past his body. His hair gradually turned white from black as the light swept by. The coldness and indifference in his eyes turned into fatigue and bleakness. Wang Lin didn't use any method to forcibly suppress the slaughter from descending on his original body, because he understood that once his slaughter descended, nothing could be changed. From now on, under the sun, I am white-haired Wang Lin in the dark. I am black-haired slaughter like the sunrise and sunset. It is very difficult to change. Fortunately, I have the power from the avatar in the void to suppress it slightly and remain conscious. Black and white eternally remained on Wang Lin's body. Wang Lin sighed. He no longer intended to pursue Haizi. He waved his right hand to take the sword fragment and picked up the heavenly bull soul armor, before walking into the distance. Wang Lin's figure disappeared into the distance. It was now dawn and the snow continued to fall. This snow lasted for a long time. In the early morning 2 days later, the snow had covered the earth like a thick layer of cotton clothing. On the early morning after 2 days, Wang Lin, Lu Jinbiao, and the sea dragon stood outside the eastern gate. He looked behind at the ancestral city and calmly waited. Shortly after, as Lu Jinbiao waited in excitement, he saw 2 figures appear in the distance. One of them wore a big red shirt. It was Shu Liguo. Shu Liguo's face was filled with confusion. He felt like something had been calling him in these last few days. It was due to this feeling that he arrived at the eastern gate. Beside him, the madman walked with swagger. He had also come here because he felt that something was calling him, like with Shu Liguo. It made him upset, so he had decided to come. "Hey, it's you! Damn it, you still to appear before this king?" When the madman saw Wang Lin, his eyes immediately widened. He rolled up his sleeves and was about to rush forward. When Shu Liguo saw Wang Lin, he was also startled. Wang Lin sighed as he looked at the madman charging at him. He looked at Shu Liguo and slowly said, "Shu Liguo, I'm about to leave. Are you going to stay here or come with me?" When his words entered Shu Liguo's mind, his mind to rumble. A layer of seal was loosened, and the memories of the past appeared in his mind. Wishing for the like button for the video. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Shu Liguo's body trembled as he stared dumbfoundedly at Wang Lin. Everything that appeared in his mind made tears flow from his eyes. He remembered Wang Lin and how he was refined into a devil by Wang Lin. He remembered following Wang Lin for thousands of years. He remembered his everything and the words from his fiend of a master. He remembered that he had fully awakened after leaving the cave world. "My master!" Shu Liguo's body trembled and his eyes widened. He quickly took a few steps and walked over from the madman to Wang Lin's side. He also pushed aside Lu Jinbiao, who was about to greet him. After pushing aside the startled Lu Jinbiao, Shu Liguo stood where Lu Jinbiao stood, and the shock on his face turned into the flattery face he was used to displaying. "Master, little Shu has finally met you again. Over the years, little Shu has dreamed of meeting Master every night. I couldn't wait to reunite with Master again. Master, little Shu's loyalty to you will not change because of the change of time. It will not change due to being a different life. You my master this life, and the next life, and the next life, and the next life. Master, you can abandon me. Let me follow you. Even if I have to ascend a mountain of blades or go down into a sea of fire, I, Shu Liguo, won't even frown. Master, although I met you late, I followed you the longest. Some might have been lucky to have been found by Master early, but how can my loyalty be compared? Master, I finally found you." As Shu Liguo spoke, he even squeezed out a few tears of excitement, while Lu Jinbiao stared dumbfoundedly from the side. While shouting excitedly about his joy, Shu Liguo didn't forget to viciously stare at Lu Jinbiao, as if he was telling Lu Jinbiao he was the real #1 servant to their master. No one knows this fiend better than I do. When your grandpa Shu was following this fiend, little Jinbiao, you were still off somewhere cheating people. You dare to steal Master's favor from me? Damn, this Lu Jinbiao must have thought he could surpass me. I need to educate him that his grandpa Shu is not to be trifled with. Being stared by Shu Liguo, Lu Jinbiao immediately felt his heart tremble. Shu Liguo had left a great shadow on him. He hesitated and was about to speak when a roar came from beside him. The sea dragon that had shrunken into the side of a finger and was lazily laying on Lu Jinbiao's shoulder suddenly looked up when it heard the name Shu Liguo. It stared viciously at Shu Liguo and let out a roar. Its roar startled Shu Liguo. Lu Jinbiao revealed a proud expression. If not for Wang Lin being here, he would have started laughing. Haha, fortunately I prepared ahead of time and have this sea dragon. I want to see how Shu Liguo will be arrogant now. Lu Jinbiao revealed a proud expression, and his right hand patted the sea dragon's back. He looked at Shu Liguo tauntingly. Wang Lin ignored the sparks between their gazes and looked toward the madman, who was startled by Shu Liguo's words. At this moment, the madman had already forgotten about looking for trouble with Wang Lin. Instead, he looked at Shu Liguo as if he was going to cry. Little Red, you, what are you saying? Am I not your master? How come he is your master? Am I your master or is he your master? Who is your master? The madman became very anxious and grabbed Shu Liguo. Shu Liguo just remembered that such a person was with him and looked back at the madman. After his memories recovered, his gaze toward the madman was different from before. It was now similar to when he joined forces with Liu Jinbiao to steal the madman's blood. Let go of your hand, your grandpa as holy master is this fine master who is wise and gives off a powerful killing intent. At this point, he quickly looked at Wang Lin, and his heart skipped a beat. He had been away from this fiend for too long and almost said something he wasn't supposed to. Go away from me. Don't pester your grandpa Shu. Shu Liguo quickly broke free and retreated a few steps. He raised his chest as a sign of loyalty. Madman's face was filled with sadness and his eyes immediately turned red. He began to roar at Wang Lin. It's you injured Little Flower's grandpa, and now you stole Little Red. Little Red, Little Red, Little Red. The madman rushed out to strangle Wang Lin's neck. Wang Lin looked at the noisy madman before him with a complicated expression and let out a sigh. Madman, I came to the ancestral city to see you since you can remember me. Then you can consider the matter at the cave world a dream. Madman, I am leaving. Wang Lin closed his eyes and allowed the madman to strangle him. A moment later, a soft force pushed the madman several dozen feet away. Wang Lin opened his eyes and turned to walk toward the plain outside the city. Shu Liguo and Liu Jinbiao quickly followed and completely ignored the madman while staring at each other. However, compared to Liu Jinbiao's pride, Shu Liguo was quite angry because the sea dragon on Liu Jinbiao's shoulder was also staring at him viciously. Damn it, this is not suitable. Your grandpa only has one pair of eyes, but that damn Liu Jinbiao and the ugly snake have two pairs. I must think of a way, otherwise I can maintain my status. Shu Liguo muttered in his heart. As the three walked away, the madman stood at the gate looking at the distant figures and continuing to mutter. Little Red, why are you leaving like this? Damn it, how dare you steal this king's Little Red? I am going to tell my big brother. No, I am going to tell my teacher. My teacher is very powerful. The madman was startled as he looked at the figure in white walking away. Wang Lin, madman's body trembled as if some seal on his memory had loosened. He seemed like he was going to remember something. Cave world. Wang Lin void awakening, the madman trembled more and more as images erupted into his mind. In the image, he had saved the person before him, and then they were immersed in a dream. In the dream, he kept looking for traces of the mark on his arm. He subconsciously raised his arm and looked down. He saw a palm print mark slowly appearing on his arm where there was nothing before. This palm print seemed to appear because someone had held his arm for a long time without letting go. Tears flowed down from his eyes without him knowing. The tears flowed down his cheeks and dripped into the ground. He vaguely remembered. He remembered in the cave world, he had encountered a corpse in the cave world. He had used his own blood to revive that corpse. He remembered that the corpse was named Wang Lin. After being revived, this Wang Lin was very good to him. He remembered everything that had happened in the dream Dao. He also remembered that when he awakened once more, he saw his big brother. After that, everything was a blur, as if his memories were sealed. His big brother seemed to have cast some kind of spell on him. He could only vaguely remember that there was a ruthless gaze from his big brother's eyes. That gaze made him feel fear, and he wanted to seek Wang Lin's help. He remembered. The madman trembled and shouted, Wang Lin, teacher! When his voice echoed in the world, it caused Wang Lin's body to tremble. The meaning of those words caused Wang Lin's heart to tremble, and he suddenly turned around. When he turned around, his pupils suddenly shrank. He saw a golden vortex suddenly appear behind the madman, and a person walked out. This person was wearing a royal robe and a crown. It was the celestial emperor. He had a gentle gaze when he appeared, and his right hand landed on the madman's shoulder. The madman's eyes became confused once more when this hand landed, and the palm print on his arm disappeared without a trace. Wang Lin, since you intend to leave, I want to send you off. Dao Fei's memory seems to be recovering, so I am going to take him to the Celestial Ancestor's closed-door cultivation spot under the palace. Perhaps there he can fully recover. The Celestial Emperor smiled at Wang Lin and then stepped back into the vortex with the madman. They both disappeared. The wind and snow continued. Everything was like an illusion, as if nothing had happened. Wang Lin stood there after witnessing everything. After pondering for a moment, his eyes revealed a monstrous golden light. The Celestial Ancestor's closed-door cultivation spot again. His words even reveal that it is under the palace. He did it to make me go. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy as he stared at the ancestral city. The madman's call earlier was clearly his memory awakening. Perhaps all of this was the Celestial Ancestor's plan. He used the madman as a lure to force me not to leave, force me to go to the palace. First, I didn't go to the palace during the title ceremony. Then it was the trap at the street. The Celestial Emperor must have been involved in that. He wanted to capture me to take me to the palace, but failed, resulting in my battle against Zhu Di. He was unwilling to act personally, so he used the madman to lure me to the place. The Celestial Ancestor's closed-door cultivation spot. Palace, what secret exists there that the Celestial Emperor keeps trying to get me to go? Should I go or not? Wang Lin silently pondered before he suddenly raised his head. His eyes were filled with decisiveness. Sometimes, even if one knows there will be danger, they will still continue down that path. Wang Lin took a deep breath and waved his right hand to put Shuliguo, Lu Jinbiao, and the sea dragon back into his storage space. The morning snow was falling, and this time, his target was the palace. Wishing for the like button for the video, hoping to double the likes on the video. In the meantime, everyone, throw your spare ones here. The snow covered the early morning in the ancestral city, making it so one couldn't see far away. The snow that made the world blurry revealed a sense of coldness that could penetrate one's heart. Wang Lin turned around and walked against the wind and snow back toward the ancestral city. There was a jade in his hand, and this was one of his ace for coming to the ancestral city. This was his agreement with Grand Empyrean Gemini and Empyrean Exalt Guya. When Wang Lin needed her, Grand Empyrean Gemini would come to help in person. This was Grand Empyrean Gemini and Empyrean Exalt Guya's promise to Wang Lin. It was also because of the existence of the jade that Wang Lin still came, knowing he would make an enemy out of the Celestial Emperor. Under the eastern gate, the wind and snow were mostly blocked by the city wall. Standing in the shadow of the city gate, Wang Lin looked at the jade in his hand and crushed it. The moment Wang Lin crushed the jade, purple and red light flashed, forming a strange array before him. This array looked ancient and was extremely complex. It looked like it was used for a transfer. As the light from the formation flickered, the figure of two little girls appeared. Their eyes slowly opened as if they were being summoned during their sleep. One of them was still holding a doll. So sleepy. What is this place? Little Wang Lin, it's you. The two little girls looked around and their gazes landed on Wang Lin. They immediately revealed looks of joy and surprise. Wang Lin greets Grand Empyrean Gemini. Wang Lin clasped his hands and bowed. There is no need to bow, no need to bow. We missed you so much after you left. We didn't expect to see you so soon. Where is little Biaozi? Quickly, call him out. That is right, I miss little Biaozi. The two little girls were filled with excitement. Wang Lin calmly said, This place is the Celestial Clan's ancestral city. Does Grand Empyrean Gemini remember our agreement? Agreement? I remember. You said that when you need it, we need to help you once. Do you need help now? Who messed with you? To dare to provoke our family's little Wang Lin. We will settle this for you. The two little girls immediately became spirited, as if they were very keen on fighting and such. Wang Lin looked at the two little girls and softly said, I'd like to ask Grand Empyrean Gemini to help me trap the Celestial Emperor for some time. I need to take a trip to the palace. I awaits. Celestial Emperor? No problem. The two little girls' eyes moved, and there was a hint of seriousness in their pure eyes. However, they didn't ask more. They withdrew their gazes and flew toward the palace. In a moment, the earth shook faintly and there seemed to be a loud roar coming from the palace. Wang Lin felt the earth tremble under the gate and closed his eyes. Let slaughter descend on this world to replace the light with destruction. Wang Lin willingly sink into destruction, Wang Lin muttered, and his long white hair rapidly changed to black from the roots. As his hair turned black, the snow falling from the sky also changed. The snow became black, and as the black snow fell, it turned into a storm that raged above. When Wang Lin's hair turned completely black, the snow also all turned black. Black snow descended from the air and covered the morning sky. This caused the eastern city to become completely dark. In the sky, large amounts of black snow raged and covered most of the light. Wang Lin opened his eyes. They were filled with a ruthless sense of coldness. The black-haired Wang Lin should only appear when it was dark, but at this moment, he had used a spell to turn the snow black, and used the black snow to turn light into darkness. From a distance, the current ancestral city was extremely strange. The eastern city was covered in night, while the rest of the city was in day. The cultivators in the eastern city all charged out of their rooms and looked up at the sky. Every one of them was filled with shock and horror. But soon, they instantly felt the ruthless destruction coming from the eastern city. This aura was not overbearing or lively, but the moment they felt it, they thought of destruction and the end. Wang Lin slowly walked forward, strands of black gas surrounding his white robe. More and more gathered until outsiders couldn't see the figure inside, only a mass of black gas. As Wang Lin advanced, the black snow invaded the light. Every time he took a step, the darkness would also spread one step. I originally put away the slaughter and destruction. I was ready to leave, but Celestial Emperor, since you want me to come, then today you must bear the beginning of destruction. As Wang Lin stepped forward, the black gas rushed forward like black flames that would burn the world. Any cultivator that saw him would feel their heart tremble and feel fear from their soul. It was as if the black gas was their natural enemy and the destroyer of life. Wherever he walked, the black snow melted, turning the ground into ruins. It was uncertain if this was due to the erosion of killing intent or the decay from the melting black snow. The surrounding buildings all seemed to go through countless years in a short period of time as Wang Lin walked by. They turned into dust and scattered. He walked step by step toward the central city from the eastern city. The distance was far too large, but at this moment black ripples echoed with every step Wang Lin took. He seemed to be fully integrated with the darkness. Although he looked slow, he was moving very fast, and one could only see the dust flying. The darkness devoured the light in the sky and covered the eastern city, moving toward the palace. Very few cultivators dared to block Wang Lin right now. They were terrified as they watched the darkness descend and devour the light. A line of ruins connected the eastern city and the palace. There was no longer a city behind Wang Lin, only the dust of time. Outside the palace, tens of thousands of black-armored soldiers were lined up, staring at Wang Lin. Behind him, countless more figures flew out from every corner of the palace. In the sky, the world changed colors. There were two suns in the sky, one purple and one gold. Inside the purple sun was Grand Empyrean Gemini, and inside the golden sun was the Celestial Emperor. The battle of the two Grand Empyreans caused thunderous rumbles to echo and the world to become a blur. Ripples also echoed in all directions. Grand Empyrean Gemini, this Wang Lin is trespassing in the palace and doesn't respect the celestial ancestor. This is the behavior of a traitor. Are you two going to continue to be stubborn? The celestial ancestor's voice echoed in the sky as thunderous rumbles accompanied shocking spells. Wang Lin stood outside the palace and suddenly looked up. All the black gas gathered around him to form a black robe. His black hair even grew a bit longer. He looked at the golden sun in the sky, and his eyes revealed an emotionless indifference. As the black gas around Wang Lin condensed into the black robe, the darkness in the sky spread out like ink. The sky outside the palace was divided into three parts. One part was black, one part was golden, and in the middle was purple. I originally didn't want to pursue the trap at the street and just wanted to leave. I didn't want destruction and slaughter to descend on the world. But you forced me here by using the madman. Now I am coming. Wang Lin's eyes were even more indifferent, and there was no trace of any emotion in them now. He suddenly looked at the tens of thousands of black-armored soldiers and the figures flying out of the palace. Wang Lin raised his foot and stepped forward. His body suddenly expanded into a black cloud and swept forward. Those tens of thousands of soldiers all had serious expressions as they looked at the black cloud formed by Wang Lin. They let out roars and black light came from their suits of armor, turning into a powerful aura. The aura of tens of thousands of people gathered together. This mass of monstrous killing intent let out a roar and turned into a giant dragon turtle. This beast had the head and tail of a dragon, but not the body. Its body was that of a turtle, and it had countless ghost tattoos on it. This beast was not the Black Tortoise. In the Celestial clan, it had a special name. It was called the Dragon Ghost. Turtle, we, and ghost, we, both had the same sound. The Dragon Ghost was formed by the killing intent the black-armored soldiers had gathered over the countless years. It let out a roar and rushed at the black cloud Wang Lin formed. In an instant, it collided with the black cloud, but the moment it touched the black cloud, its body trembled and it let out a miserable roar. No matter how powerful the killing intent, it would all disappear before slaughter and destruction. The black cloud formed by Wang Lin swept by without pausing. The dragon ghost collapsed and the tens of thousands of black-armored soldiers coughed out blood. Their bodies seemed to be hit by a powerful force and were knocked back. The gate to the palace seemed to go through countless years in an instant as Wang Lin passed by and it collapsed. The sky darkened as Wang Lin passed by, and the land of the palace turned black. The entire gate turned into ashes. The tens of thousands of black-armored soldiers were terrified, but as the black cloud swept by them, miserable screams echoed. When the black cloud swept past them and reformed into the black-haired Wang Lin, the tens of thousands of black-armored soldiers had all turned into corpses. As the wind blew by, they also turned to dust and scattered. 1. Both words have similar sound due to having the same ping-ying in Chinese. Wishing for the like button for the video. Thinking nonsense, wishing for the like button for the video.